Hello, hi Scarlett, hi Hive, hi Shira, thank you very much for the lurks, thank you. I don't know why the shoutouts don't work anymore. I tried to refresh it. Hi Scarlett, welcome! Welcome. Today we're having a chill stream. Because I'm too lazy to play anything today. I have a tummy ache, so we're gonna be chilling. Hi Anto, welcome! How are you doing? Wait, let me try that again. Did it fix it? I need to change, I feel like, my shoutout thing. The video shoutout. I need to switch to Mix It Up instead. This thing breaks too many times. It doesn't work anymore. It's just dead. I'm trying to refresh it. Sorry, no video shoutout today, guys. I'll try to figure it out. Hi Shakespeare, welcome! How are you doing? Hello, welcome. My video shoutouts are broken today, so you just get the text. Enjoy the text. I have good news! I got accepted on Vigen! So I will move all my commission to Vigen now. Be happy for me. It's not like I literally just I was checking. It's really hard. I've never done like actual commissions before, so I actually have to figure out what to do. I was trying to figure it out in the morning, but then I was like, okay, it's time to stream. Then I'll try to what is it? Tomorrow my day off, right? So I'll try to figure it out tomorrow. So I'll like set up the page and everything. So if you can go there now for commissions. I'll add the link and everything later when I'm done with customizing it. Thank you. I'm so glad I did it. I got it. I'm really excited. Hopefully it goes well there. I have no idea how that place works actually. So wait, the bunks are still not up? I thought they should be enabled now. Let me check. Oh wait, they are unavailable. Wait, how do you enable them then? I thought you disabled them through the dashboard, but oh, thank you. I didn't realize you can disable them otherwise. No, don't make it 1 point. Only thing you get for 1 point is the wine. Yeah, the monk should be working now. Oh, the remote view. I never understand mode view. Mode view is so complicated. I need to learn it. I feel like I need to know it. Please, welcome! Thank you very much. Thank you for the raid. How was your stream? My shoutouts a little bit broken, so I can only do this for now. I know how I broke it. I literally didn't even touch it. My bunks are a little bit crooked. It's okay. Hi bees, welcome. How was Dark Souls? Yeah, they keep I think it's because I'm moving my model, even though they kind of follow it, but not like it does. You do need to recalibrate it. Yay! Thank you, Scarlett. I almost accidentally exited OBS. I just clicked accidentally. I missed a little bit and I clicked settings instead. So Shabbat, welcome! How are you doing? Welcome. I saw you sent something. I haven't watched it yet. We can watch it now as well, since we're on YouTube anyway. Let me see what you sent. Oh, good luck with your gacha. Good luck, good luck. I'm good, thank you. Okay, I'll open it here as well. So we can watch it. Okay, wait. Now I move. There's people outside. Sometimes I'm listening to the gossip outside. There is so much drama happening. For 2 or 3 years? What is ENA? Ina? Wait, is the sound on? Let me see. Okay, it's on. Let me know if it's too loud. And the mission is cool. March 27th. Oh, it's really soon. This is cool. It's only chapter 1 though. My YouTube recommendation on this account is so weird sometimes. ENA is one of those things you can't really explain. Okay, I guess I have to play the game to find out. That's cool. I saw, yeah, the Nuke has one new video. Wait, before I do this, let me do something else real quick. Hey, spooky time! Today is spooky time. Am I stuck? No, I'm not. Okay. Let's watch. Is it too loud? I feel like it's a bit too loud.
On March 6, 2015, Jennifer Grossbeck was driving home with her
I also have a
18-month-old
little pie
daughter
with me.
Lily secured in her car seat
Like, I
in the
watch
back.
and eat.
While driving along a lonely road in Utah, Jennifer lost control of her SUV and crashed off the side of a bridge, flipping her car upside down into the freezing water of the Spanish Fork River. Most of the car was submerged in the icy water, and tragically, Jennifer Grossbeck passed away almost instantly. However, luckily the car was positioned in a way that Jennifer's 18-month-old baby Lily was not plunged into the freezing water. The baby was held in place in her car seat in the back.
Oh my god, the baby
3 hours
survived!
later, the car is spotted in the river, and emergency first responders arrive on the scene.
Go ahead.
Ah, that hurts my eyes.
What have you got? What have you got?
But as the police and firemen approached the car, they heard something that they really can't explain.
We heard something saying, help us inside. And so it was at that point that we, said we have to get in that car now. And
So the car was upside
the four of
down?
us were able to push the car on its side. And that's when I looked inside and was able to see the child infant strapped in the back seat.
Anybody hear us? Hello? Oh, God, there's a baby. Oh, fuck.
Oh my god, that's terrifying.
There's a baby.
Brian. Pass her up, pass her up. Pass her up. Here, right here, right here.
Go.
She's definitely hypothermic. She's freezing.
She survived? Oh my god, that's crazy.
Go. Let's go.
Was she upside down this whole
So
time?
you actually heard a voice calling out, "Help me." Do you know who that was?
I assumed that it was someone in the car saying, help me. That's why we responded saying, we're trying, we're gonna get inside and help you, we're doing the best we can.
We're helping, we're coming.
That's so creepy.
That we saw the mother, who we know now was deceased at the time, and the child was in the back seat.
Even stranger. Although all 4 of the early responders say that they heard the strange, unexplained voice of a woman pleading for help, the officers' body cameras did not pick up any voice at all.
Here, get over here, Beddoes. We're helping, we're coming.
To me, it was plain as day.
That's so creepy. Oh my god.
I remember hearing a voice. It didn't sound like a child.
Well, the child is an infant, right? I don't think the child can talk.
Jennifer Groesbeck's family believes that it was the voice of Jennifer's spirit, calling out from the great beyond to try to urge the emergency workers to hurry to save her baby daughter, Lily.
She was just a very compassionate and caring person. She always wanted to bend over backwards for her loved
The fact that baby survived that's crazy. So the baby wasn't in the water?
The emergency team that was on the scene says that they simply can't explain what they heard.
We're helping, we're coming.
The thing down the hall. Oscar Nunez
Someone
says
in
that
my
strange,
neighborhood the other
unexplained
day
things have been
took out a
happening
power.
all around his
Whoa.
home. He believes that some sinister presence has attached itself to
That's
his family.
scary.
One night, he and his wife returned
That
home.
one was cool.
and something
I mean, that's
truly
really sad, but like,
bizarre.
that's actually cool. Ew. Ew. If I saw that, I would just burn the house. Just burn it. Oh, the backseat didn't go underwater. But the baby was upside down the whole time, right? Can't you die from being upside down? Considering it's a baby specifically.
For some odd reason, there are flies swarming all over their house. Oscar says that he can't think of any rational explanation. Another late night, and Oscar's son has fallen asleep on the living room couch. The young boy wakes up and sees something that chills him to his core.
What's that on the TV? Wait, what did he see? Did he see it already? Where am I supposed to look?
Oscar's son wakes up after he hears a strange noise and runs to his parents' bedroom, crying and wailing in fear. The young boy tells his dad that he saw someone scary in the hallway. But did you see it? When Oscar checks his security footage, he sees a large figure that looks like a man just standing in the hallway, staring at his son.
What?
Even weirder, whatever this is just seems to disappear into thin air. Oscar Nunez says that he and his family have no idea
I guess I can see
who
it.
or what this is. Frightful photobombs. This next weird story was discovered by the YouTube channel /podcast Haunted City Studios. So, a woman named Vernice posts on Facebook that she's been having some very odd experiences and thinks
the
that
flying
some sort of
noises
spirit
kinda
or
make you feel
entity
like
has
everything's
attached
dirty.
itself to her and her youngest daughter. Vernice says that recently when she takes a photo of her daughter, the pictures often come out very strange and disturbing.
Okay, it's time to give your
Vernice
daughter to
posted
the
a few
adoption.
pictures that definitely make her point.
You don't need a daughter anymore.
First up, Bernice snapped this photo of her youngest daughter in the pool. She's being playfully dunked underwater by her sister, but she looks like this.
Ew! Oh my god!
That's not right.
Give it up! Give it away!
The daughter's face looks like a horror special effect.
It really does.
It looks like a mask.
Right.
Deep set dark eyes, very pale.
Also, why does it
skin.
look like she's trying
It's
to...
unsettling to look at.
Is she
because
trying to
You're trying to make
drown
a
her?
normal face out of it, and you just can't.
No.
As mentioned, for some odd reason in this photo, Bernice's daughter's face just, well, it doesn't look like a
It looks
face.
like she's the lady is trying to drown
She
her.
took of her young daughter crouching on the bed.
Oh my.
Nope. Nope.
Okay, I kind of see how that could have happened. Like, if she jumped, if she was jumping, this could happen.
This child might be possessed, like for real.
It is very upsetting to look at this and think it could be anything like that.
Yeah.
Now, if this is some dark spiritual attachment appearing in Vernice's photos, then it's not just limited to her daughter. When Vernice receives a speeding ticket in the mail from an automatic traffic camera, something odd shows up in that photo, too.
That's insane.
What?
Yeah.
There's a figure sitting next to her. It's very clear, and it actually. When I first saw it, I thought it was an old woman.
That's what I thought. That's what I still
But
think.
then, the more I look at it, the more I see kind of classic.
I see nothing.
depictions of big head, small neck, kind of.
I mean, I kind of see it, I guess.
There's two people in there. One's living, one's not.
Something with an abnormally large distorted head seems to be sitting in the passenger seat.
But that
right
could
next to
easily be like the
Vernice.
reflection of the trees
So
as
just
well.
what do you think is going on in all of Vernice's photos lately?
This
Even
lady
the
tried to
pictures that
drown
she
the
didn't
kid.
take herself. Let me know what you think. The Cabin in the Woods. A man in Mexico named Antonio has a business where he builds, sells, and rents cabins in Mazamitla, Jalisco, Mexico. Late one night, he is working all alone outside an empty old cabin. Suddenly, he notices a strange flickering light coming from one of the windows. He pulls out his phone and records as he goes to check. And what he sees
The Cookie Monster.
makes his blood run cold.
Why is everything so hard to see? Okay, I saw that. Is someone taking picture in there? Why is the light flashing?
Now, Antonio is completely alone. There's not supposed to be anyone inside the cabin. But as he watches in terror, he sees someone in the flickering light, slowly approaching the window as if to look out at him. And whoever this is has no discernible features and looks almost like a shadow.
Or
even
with
in
this
the
kind of
bright flickering
quality,
light.
it's really hard to
Antonio gathers his courage
see the
and goes
features.
inside the cabin to investigate.
Won't you be scared that someone will jump at you? Is it will it? See, I don't believe that. Would any normal person not think about someone jumping at them?
Antonio is a bit nervous as he checks through the rooms, but the entire cabin is completely empty. Now, it should be noted that Antonio usually only uses his social media for his business, either to display properties he's worked on or cabins that he is renting. This is the only supernatural video that Antonio has ever posted. So, what do you think? Just who or what is this? From the Shadows. This next video was sent in by Nuke's Top 5 viewers Tuva and Sunniva from Norway. So Tuva says that she and her family moved into a new apartment in May of last year. And before this, they had never experienced anything paranormal. In fact, Tuva says that she and her sister Sunniva are very much skeptics. Or at least they were. Until this happened.
See, but I feel like that should be a first thought, right? That someone's real is in the house. What? What did she see?
Did you see it?
No.
As Sunniva is recording a video house tour for a friend, there is something black and weird just standing in front of the apartment door. The figure is so shadowy that it blends right into the darkness, but Sunava says that she could easily see it with her naked eye.
I thought it was
Sunava
a
lets out
shadow.
a frightened gasp and jerks her phone back so hard that it hits her other hand and knocks out the microphone. Now, when the video is brightened a lot, you can see that whatever this is actually blocks out the light from the peephole in the door. Sister Tuva says that a woman who was a former tenant passed away in the apartment. So could this be her presence still occupying their home? You decide. Unexplained. This first video was captured by CCTV somewhere in rural New Jersey.
What?
So there's one bright light in the sky and another light almost seems to attack it. Now, I don't know if this is ball lightning or swamp gas or what the hell this might be. So, you tell me what you think.
What did it become?
In this next video, a woman named Natasha says that her Ring doorbell camera caught something
Hi, Chelsea Knight! Holy flashbang, I guess. How are you doing? Welcome. Oh. Wait, I didn't see. Did something push it? Oh, the bike is alive! Oh my god, the bike is crazy!
And
it's
in this clip, a baby is crawling across
ghost.
the floor when something seems to pull its leg. Now, usually with these baby videos, I just think it's the baby moving in a weird way and no big deal. But this kid's leg moves back at a very odd angle.
I guess yes, it looks a little bit
upset by
but babies
whatever's
sometimes
back there.
weird.
But as
I don't
always,
know.
You decide. If you see something that you think would be perfect for the top 5, email me at nukestop5@gmail.com. You can also tag me on TikTok at nukestop5.
No, I'm so sorry you're
Be
sick.
sure to tag me
Hope you feel better soon.
nukestop5official because there are a lot of
There was
fake
a food
accounts on
counting
there.
video.
Playtime is over.
I didn't even
A
notice.
woman named Jessica says that she has recently purchased a fun playhouse for her daughter that looks very similar to their own house, complete with its own motion sensing doorbell camera.
What? What kind of fancy house is that?
I'm gonna show them the door, okay? She really wanted it to have a doorbell camera like our
What the fuck?
But since then, things around their house have gotten a little spooky. Jessica's daughter says that she sometimes sees a quote-unquote scary guy in their house.
What guy?
The guy.
The guy is at the door.
Guy.
Can we go together?
Yeah.
You should be a parent after that.
I'm gonna open it.
Okay.
He's in there.
The guy?
Yeah. He's scary.
He's scary.
I'm scared.
See, you should put this house outside and your daughter outside as well, if she says that. I would be like, yeah, you live outside now. You have your own house.
Jessica's daughter claims that
Goodbye.
the scary guy is in her room, but Jess doesn't see anyone or anything. She just dismisses the whole incident as likely being her daughter's overactive imagination. But then, a few nights later, something happens that absolutely freaks Jessica out. Jess is sitting in her living room when she suddenly receives a motion alert. Not from her own doorbell camera, but from the one on her daughter's little playroom house. When Jessica checks the notification, what she sees is like something right out of a horror movie.
Your room is so cute. Am I supposed to look at the light? The fuck? Ew! Is that a doll? That scared me. Someone just went home. The ghost just came back from work. This is terrifying. It feels like I'm watching a horror movie. I like this. I see a Yoshi toy on the floor. Yeah, it's just the wind. The doll's gonna turn her head. Oh my god. Even if it's fake, it made really well. I'm terrified. I want to close my eyes. Yeah, if you jump scare me, I'm gonna hate it so much. Don't you jump scare me, but this is gonna be a jump scare, right? It has to be. I'm terrified. Stop it. Oh, that's it. The hair moved a little bit. I hate this! Stop touching the door! How long is this gonna happen? Oh, she's gonna turn her head, isn't she? Stop it! Oh my god! Oh my god! Someone walked into the room. She looks very chill for the door for seeing that.
Now a note on this clip. This is not a motion camera that pans around the room on its own motor. This camera is actually attached to the playhouse door. So this back and forth motion means that the playhouse door is actually opening and closing. But it gets even weirder because the camera repeatedly catches a little playtime mannequin.
If I saw that happening, I would be like that, Mom. I would be like running to the church or something. I would be like, okay, I have demons in my house, someone.
Jessica has had about enough. She says that she took down the little playhouse, but her daughter still sometimes says that she sees the quote-unquote scary guy back in their house. Passing through.
She just fixed the door and left.
User Alicia Pinman posted this next creepy video to Facebook. She says that late one night her husband went to take the recycling out, but as he's walking back into the house, something happens that Alicia and her husband just can't explain.
What happened? Wait, I blinked. What happened?
As Alicia's husband heads back to their house, an odd, creepy mist or apparition seems to pass right behind him, possibly partially through him. As you can tell in the video, Alicia's husband feels something strange move by him, but he has no idea
thank you. Enjoy a glass of wine, drowsy night. Enjoy.
The bizarre mist. The couple reviews their ring camera.
I watched so many trailers for FNAF movie. I'm so excited. Oh my god. You don't understand how excited I am.
This could be. But
it looks really cool.
At night, and no one can figure out just what this odd mist is. What do you think?
I don't know.
The jinn just outside. A man in Pakistan named Abdullah says that a few times over the last few months some very strange things have been happening in his house. Late one night while he is sleeping, things start to get really weird.
Why does he have a zebra on his lock screen? Who puts random zebra on the lock screen? Does he really like zebras? Hi Ram, welcome! How are you doing? Hi Kel! Hello, hello! I was just watching spooky videos. How are you doing? I didn't know about the release date, but there's a bunch of trailers. I've seen like little small ones. We actually can watch them, maybe. There's probably a compilation of them. They look really cool. It went well. My dental appointment went well. They fixed my teeth.
Okay.
They removed one of my nerves, or re-removed them because it was kind of fucked up, I think. And I feel good again. Thank you.
आओ अंदर आओ 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 अंदर अब जो भी हो मगर
Wait, that was his bedroom door?
जहाँ से भी तुमने जो भी करना तुम
Something seems to plead with Abdullah to enter his room. Something that claims to actually be him. Abdullah believes that it might be a jinn or shapeshifter, as these entities are often said to
Even that
imitate
serious, it was
others
okay.
to try to fool them. When Abdullah opens the door, something seems to actually come inside as a poster on the wall falls to the floor. Abdullah believes that a jinn might be attached to him.
Wait, there was. Well, it's not a trailer. It's more like a
by letting it in.
like a little. What do you call it? It's they're like showing the character movement a little bit and stuff.
आओ अंदर अब
Abdullah tries to prove what he is experiencing in a live stream.
And I thought I should just come live because some people just don't believe.
It's not
this
like
thing.
trailer
I'm
with
afraid from
actors and
knocking.
things.
But unfortunately,
There was one with the
nothing
phone,
happens.
like little
Weeks
animations
later,
kind of
Abdullah
thing.
gets a strange visitor again, and he is terrified.
मैंने नहीं खोलना لا لا إله إلا هو الحكيم لا تهزو سنة ولا نوم لا 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 اللهم في السماوات وما بين الأرض
Caption. I didn't even notice the caption. Okay, this has to be fake, right? This guy had zebra on his lock screen. I don't believe him. Just open the door. Knock on your own head. Thank you, Dynamix. Thank you.
Recites a verse from the Quran.
Thank you so
This
much.
only seems to
Thank
make
you for the
matters
raid.
worse.
How was your stream? I'm good, thank you.
He yanks the door open, and nothing there. After this last odd encounter, Abdullah says that he hasn't experienced anything since. But is this a jinn terrorizing poor Abdullah? Or is it all just an elaborate hoax? You decide. Scurry videos. So a few more funny
Scurry.
and or weird videos to end out this list. So sometimes ghosts move things and moan and just generally make a lot of noise. But when the people in the house are a little too loud, the ghost can get a bit pissy.
Oh my god! I want to be a ghost so badly.
Ghosts just take that running kid out? Who knows? But probably not. Anyway, sometimes at Halloween, you might try to scare your friend with a creepy mask. But he might have the same idea. And finally, sometimes your ghost hunt in an old building might find a, not ghost.
Oh, there's a TV.
Why did it just close, bro?
The Skinwalker.
Oh my god!
Anyway, thank you so much
Why
for
is he
watching.
standing
and
like
hopefully I'll
that?
see you back next time.
The Skinwalker.
Why would you stand like that? Wait, are you sure? I feel like I swear I've seen those. Wait, this one I don't think is like this one. Is this one? This one has to be real, right? I've seen this one. Is it AI? That's what I saw on TikTok. Is it really AI? Isn't it real? TikTok lied to me. Oh my god, it's fake. Why does it keep showing up then? I don't think I ever had like much. But this one is real, right? This thing. But it's only the picture. This is AI! Oh my god, AI is scary then. Hi, Ninja, it was a dream. Welcome, welcome. It's only the picture. It's real. Oh, I've seen a lot about this picture as well. The poster. Oh well. Okay, I also have this channel that Scarlett recommended. But this one is like I'm kind of scared of those. These are real things, I think. True stories. What do you want to watch? Alright, let's just watch the newest one, I guess.
Needs $700,000. On November 6, 2015, a Reddit user named Bangarang made a deeply concerning and odd post on the site reading, "Need $700,000. What do? I need it by January 2016 or I'm dead from the mob. What are my options though?" Now, if this was posted in subreddits like r/advice or r/helpme, people would have taken it more seriously. However, for whatever reason, Bangarang decided to post this plea for help in r/sadboys.
Am I an
This is a
AI?
subreddit for the
What if
fans
I
of
am
the
an
Sad Boys
AI
music
actually?
collective that emerged in the
How would
early
you tell if
2010s,
I'm not?
primarily associated with Swedish rapper Young Lean and his music group Sad Boys. So, a completely unrelated post like this left most people confused about what it meant. Not sure if this is real. So confused. What is this? Some users wondered if this was some obscure reference to Sad Boys music. Is this a reference to Lean being worth $700,000? However, most users quickly realized that Bangarang was serious when he began responding to some of the less serious
please,
joke
welcome.
comments with
Thank you for the
sincere
lyrics. Have a good
replies.
day.
Let me ghostwrite your next mixtape. I need all the help I can get. But that's when the post took a disturbing turn. One user jokingly told the OP to end it by jumping off a bridge and shoot himself while falling. However, instead of getting offended, Bangarang replied with something that made everything way more unsettling. "Think they'll get to me before I can make any moves." Alongside this, he posted a link to an eerie photo, a group of men standing in the middle of a street with multiple cars lined up behind them. The way the photo was framed suggested that OP took it while hiding in the bushes, as if he was watching from a distance, afraid to be seen. At this point, people wanted answers, and after some back and forth in another thread, Bangarang finally explained what had gotten him into this situation. "Was involved in a fight where an 18-year-old kid was killed. I was on drugs and had a bad temper. I was always protective of my friends, especially John. John was in a band and was taking off. He had a Facebook page, so he deactivated it. He made a new one. One of his friends that made a new one got real mad that he deleted the old page and thought he didn't want anything to do with her or his old friends because of the new fame and band.
There's so
John
much
tried to
happening, I'm
explain to her
confused.
that
What?
wasn't the case. When he tried to, I peered over John's shoulder, read their texts, and got heated. I started trash talking
Hi, Aaron
the
and
girl.
Pauline,
She got her
welcome.
boyfriend's
How are
friends
you
to meet
doing?
me and my friends out in the desert for a brawl. One of the guys there was with the gang members' guys group and pulled out a gun to shoot me and my friends. One of my friends grabbed the gun from him and ended up shooting the guy and killing him, the dude that pulled out the gun in the first place. Then,
Oh my
after
god,
the fight, I
I'm
violated
already
my
confused with
probation.
this story.
The
Who
cops
killed
already after
who?
me for drug use. They found out I was involved in the fight and the shooting of the guy, and they added the battery charge. I wasn't charged with murder, but was involved in the fight, which is why they added assault.
There's so
and
many
battery
guys in this
charges,
story.
plus the probation violation. But I continued with drug use and violated my probation by
Oh my
leaving
god,
the
how did you
state.
get
Now I'm
locked out
sobered
of your
up. I just
car?
turned 23, and I'm in a real bad place with some people from the past. While these
Oh, we fixed
responses
it?
provided some
I'm sorry
important
about that.
context for OP's situation, it still didn't explain why the mob was after him now, or how having $700,000 would help him stay alive. By this point, people had stopped joking. It was clear that this was most likely real. One user finally spoke up, saying what everyone else was thinking. "First of all, why are you posting this here? Second, run, get out of town. to which OP replied, "I got no one." After learning about his sheer helplessness, user PizzaMan2345 chimed in with some detailed and practical advice to help Bangarang escape with his life. Get yourself into jail and tell them to safely escort you to an airport afterwards. If you warn them about the mob and spread the word, the police will look stupid if you die soon afterwards. Then, if you do get to the airport, take several planes to several places and settle down somewhere far away. No matter how uncaring a police department is, they should listen to your plea for help. It might also help if you have a writer friend who can tell the whole story if they don't escort you. Let the police know as a last resort that they will be flamed online for not dealing with the mob themselves and for letting you loose, only for you to die right after. This of course involves you being in jail for a while, which if not the case leads me to say that you should simply leave the country now. Use your head, don't drug your problems away, either work hard and loan the rest or just run. Unfortunately, we'll never know if this advice helped him or not. A day after making the original post, Bangarang stopped replying to any more comments and hasn't posted anything on Reddit since. As for if the story
I don't know
was
if it
legit
was
or
real
not,
though.
we have no way of knowing for
okay.
sure. The Bangarang account was likely a throwaway since it was created the same day as the post. I also tried reverse image searching the picture he posted, and while there are many similar looking images online, I couldn't find anything that matches the OP picture to a T and predated the Reddit thread. And since Bangarang didn't provide any clues about his location, I couldn't find any relevant news articles from that time either. Most users under the original thread believe the OP was likely caught and killed by the mob. However, it's been over 9 years since the original post with no updates since, and I doubt we'll ever learn the truth. Dog Operation. On the 31st of March, Reddit user City, posted a disturbing entry on the Reddit Bureau of Investigation subreddit. The title of the entry was, "What could have been the reason why someone operated on my
Oh my
dog?"
god, I don't want this story. I'm sorry. Can I skip this one? I can't. I cannot. Oh my god, don't. No. 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 Can you skip the dog one, please? Oh my god, it's a long one as well.
At a hospital. The post read, "A woman posing as a nurse stole my blood from an Indiana, USA emergency room in 1996 or 1997 when I was 5 or 6 years old."
What?
Hello everyone, I'm not sure if this is the correct place, so please feel free to direct me to a better subreddit if there is one. I've flared it as a cold case because it happened 23 years ago, but there were no charges filed, to my recollection, and I don't remember a case being made from it.
Why do I still remember that?
I was 5, maybe 6 when it happened, so I don't have a lot of the details. I had recently told my younger sister about this story, and she encouraged me to look into the incident more and see if I could find out either who this person was,
Why,
or if there was a
though?
larger pattern of behavior during the time frame. I'm interested in any information you all have.
It's not like you
to
can,
offer, so
like,
I
I
can
mean,
find
the
out
blood
more,
is
as I
important,
truly
but
just
like,
want to satisfy some
it's
curiosity.
not like someone stole your
I'm
kidney or
99%
something,
sure
right?
Any statute of limitations is up, and I'm not interested in reporting something so weird and from so long ago to the police for them to tell me there's nothing that can be done. Now onto the story. When I was around 5 or 6, I got a pretty bad nosebleed that wouldn't stop. I eventually started throwing up big clots of blood as well, and my mother took me to the ER. This would be in/around the Sunman or Indianapolis area in Indiana, USA, but I do not know the name of the hospital. At the time, beds were separated only by
Kiss of
curtains on
players.
ceiling racks and not individual walled rooms. My mother had left my room to speak to a doctor.
That's the
I think.
creepiest
I know
place
she
ever.
left, and a woman I did not know came in shortly after she left. She was white, had medium brown hair, and looked to be in her 20s or 30s. She was wearing a blue scrub shirt with puppy dogs on it and unmatched pants. I want to say she was not wearing scrub pants, but rather jeans or maybe sweatpants. I know they did not match her shirt, which stood out to me. The other nurses and doctors I saw only wore solid colored scrubs and were all matched. She said she needed to take some blood and pulled the tools to do so from her scrub pockets, not a phlebotomy card. She stuck me and started drawing blood, somewhere
Oh,
around
stop
5 to
showing me the
7
video. I
vials,
don't want to say
potentially
this.
more. On the last vial, we heard my mom and a doctor coming back to
Hey,
the room.
this.
She hurriedly ripped the tube from my arm before the last vial was full. It spilled some blood. She did not give me a band-aid or gauze. She just left me bleeding and shoved everything back into her pocket, then ran from the room. She ran to the left, and my mom and doctor entered from the right. The doctor said a nurse would be with me soon to draw some blood and run some tests. I told him a lady had already taken my blood, and he asked what she looked like and where she went. I described her. He turned wide-eyed to my mother and said, "She doesn't work here," and ran out of the room to the left. I heard some loud voices, there was a lot of commotion, but I don't remember anything past that point other than just feeling dizzy and now scared that some strange woman had my blood. I've never been able to find out what happened, who this woman was, and if she was ever caught, or if this type of thing was happening across the country at the time. I have no idea. Let me know if there's any other information I could provide to make it easier to find out what happened to my blood. Edited a typo and to add,
I mean, they probably just sold it, right?
My early life,
I don't. What else could they do with the blood? Maybe they drank it. I don't know. Maybe she was a vampire.
Confirmed the details I remembered, then refused to talk further about it and asked me not to bring it up again. She claims she does not remember the name of the hospital.
I mean, what else can you do with blood? You probably sell it, right?
What makes this story so terrifying is how real it feels. Most children are already afraid of doctors and needles, so the idea of someone posing as a nurse to steal blood is horrifying. One user responded with a theory stating, "Are there any chances that you are adopted?" Suggesting that the mysterious woman was OP's real mother who wanted her blood for DNA testing.
You don't need that much blood.
It could explain why OP's mother refused to give any further information on what happened that
No,
day.
oh my god, why? Why would that be a theory? Why wouldn't it be like just a random person collecting blood to sell it? Or like maybe they don't have enough money for the blood.
My known parents as my birth
So steal it.
I also look very similar to my mom and sister. The most plausible theory came from user OSnapdragon22, who suggested that OP might be misremembering details that make this situation a lot more horrifying than it actually was, stating, "Nurse here, phlebotomists sometimes wear different scrubs. It seems highly unlikely that someone stole your blood and put them in tubes. Those tubes are full of various additives for different diagnostic testing. If I were to steal your blood, I would use a bag instead. Not like I would steal blood or anything, just making a point. It seems highly weird that a civilian would have the necessary tools/tubes to complete this lab draw. Many blood draws are done with equipment carried in scrub pockets, so not having a cart is not atypical. Supplies in hospitals, especially needles, are required to be locked per Joint Commission/DNV for obvious reasons, drug users, children. Also, blood draw carts are actually an infection risk in some cases. Lastly, hospitals are extremely stranger-unfriendly. Every nurse and tech knows who's supposed to be there and who's not.
I mean, I don't
Even
think
when
it's
you're a
as hard
coworker that has
to...
been floated from another floor to assist, you are treated as an outsider, and many coworkers still stop and ask you what you need/what you're doing there. This was most likely a flashbulb memory instance, as you are 5 and have a childlike recollection of events, and said yourself that your family/parent is a poor historian. I hope this provides some reassurance for you. I'm not trying to diminish what you're saying, just mentioning that from my experience it seems highly implausible. P.S.
I have questions. Is it... Okay. Isn't... Like, if I had the... Like, isn't the most obvious thing to think about is like... This person probably pretended to be a nurse. Came in, took some blood... And then probably sold it to people who need blood, right? Is it really that weird of a story? Or like maybe used it. Maybe she like checked the the person's blood type and was like, oh yeah, that's the blood I need. And just stole it. But like, why is it a weird thread? Is that a weird... I mean, I guess it's weird to get your blood stolen, but like... I mean, it's blood. You'll generate a new one. I don't know. I mean, it is illegal, probably. I understand that. Yeah, I know, but like... I'm just... curious, why is like everyone's making weird theories about it, like she's adopted or something? Isn't that the most obvious thing, that the lady just stole it for... I'm not saying the lady did the right thing, I'm just saying like isn't that the first thing you will think about? I didn't steal anyone's blood. I'm asking them nicely for it. Don't worry. I also don't steal blood. I don't need blood.
A doctor saying someone doesn't work, that is also ridiculous, as doctors do rotations, don't stay on one floor permanently.
Also, I do feel like
all
it's...
staff members working in
You don't know, like, the
Pagan princess.
You don't know what kind of hospital it was. Maybe it was like very cheap hospital where everyone was like, especially like considering, imagine like, it's not even the rooms, right? It's like the ones that like covered with just the curtains. It's really easy to get like lost in those places. To like just hide and be unnoticed. I don't think it's that hard to get into the hospital. See, that's what I'm confused. Like, why do you make theories about that? Is it really that big of a mystery? I'm confused.
Too is still fairly active on Reddit, but she hasn't posted any new information about her story. Who knows, maybe one day her mother will come clean about what she knows and will finally learn what happened to OP on that day. Poisoned. On May of 2013, a user made a chilling confession on the Off My Chest subreddit with a disturbing title that read, "My mother has poisoned me. Ever since I became an adult about a decade ago, my mother has been against me moving out of the house. I finally got a job as a line cook 3 years ago. My mother and the rest of my family, which includes my sister and father, has been against it, mainly saying that such a job cannot sustain me," which was true. They also said I would hate working, which turned out to be false. About a year and a half later, I quit due to health reasons. The following
Yeah, I also
spring,
feel
got a new
that
job
because
as a
like
computer programmer.
it has to be
While
either
they
a very
seemed
small
supportive at
hospital.
first, my mother and sister, who I lived with, gradually became hostile.
Like even then,
Eventually, I moved
if
out
the
of
person is
house.
like visiting
About
and
a
stuff,
month
you
later,
can't
I
know
lost
every
my
single
job, and
person in
about
the
3 months
hospital. If
later,
it's like
moved back home.
at least
Everything
normal
was
size
cool at
hospital,
first,
right?
But as I was getting calls from recruiters and going to job interviews, they gradually became more hostile again, accusing me of being distant and not caring for them. However, they seemed to be very controlling and hateful of the fact that I wanted to move out and wanted a decent job. So last month, I finally got that job as a computer programmer.
I wish my family was like that.
I had just enough money to relocate.
I wish
to
my
the
family
city.
would be like, "Oh
They
my god,
became
live
very
with us.
hostile
You don't
starting
need a
few days
job."
before I left, accusing me of not loving them, of hating them. On the day before I was scheduled to leave, my mother gave me 2 of the styrofoam ramen noodle cups and tore that cardboard covering that normally comes with it and threw it away. I was suspicious that they would try to sabotage my life, so I was careful in not trying to anger them. She gave me a few more food items, which I didn't use, to take on the trip with me. When I arrived at my new city and entered my hotel room, I chilled out. I was to go to work the next day, so after the first day of work, I ate a cup of ramen noodles and felt ill. I knew that feeling because my sister fed me something that made me feel the same way in late 2011.
The
which I
whole
then
family
assumed
is
was
trying
because
to
of my
poison
recent
you?
illness. I felt weak, lightheaded, and short of breath. I drank
Enjoy
water to
lunch,
make me feel
Sushi.
better because
Make
that's
sure
what
it's
I
not
did last time
poisoned.
that happened to me. Over the
Thank you
week,
for the
my
lyrics.
mother kept calling me, making sure to remind me to eat my ramen noodles. I was short on cash then, waiting for my first paycheck. I never told her that I ate it. I suspected then that I had been poisoned, and after doing some Googling, believed it was cyanide. Now, that is something that you should never have to think that your own mother
Cyanide.
would do that to you. So I resisted that thought because I simply could not bear to think that.
Wait,
so I
I'm
went to
confused.
cyanidetest.com in
Did she
order to
tore
try
off
it.
the
Now, look at the
opening
graphics
thing?
and the video on this page.
Oh wait, he said it
Now,
was like
here are
the
the results of my test. I guess I'm going to have to call the cops and I will never speak to my family again. The results exposed the truth the OP desperately didn't want to believe. He was being poisoned by his own family. Thankfully, the amount of poison in 1 cup of noodles wasn't enough to be lethal, but eating that second cup could have easily delivered a fatal dose. Luckily, he was able to escape with his life. After reading this post, the vast majority of people urged
Shouldn't they
OP
like
to
put
contact
enough
the
in
police and
one?
stay away from his family.
So it will like
And
kill
that's
immediately?
exactly what
Why
he
would you
did.
put it in
Unfortunately,
2?
the police weren't as helpful as everyone would have hoped. Update 8:45 a.m. I am currently in Topeka, Kansas. I work downtown in a government office building which has a police department. I visited the Capitol Police Station here and spoke to an officer. I showed him
I
the
would never
evidence,
poison
and
you.
He said he could do nothing about it since the
I need
package was
people
opened
alive.
and might have been contaminated. So does anyone have ideas? Had things ended here, this could have gone down as one of the most unsettling mysteries in Reddit's history. But unlike other disturbing Reddit threads, this one surprisingly had somewhat of a conclusion. You see, even though this was a throwaway account, OP returned to Reddit in October of 2013 and gave an update on his whereabouts. I was only able to file a police report, but only that so far. The police do not have enough evidence to investigate. I've gotten no contact with my family. I currently live in a cheap motel in Topeka, Kansas. Yesterday, after getting home from work, I work for the Kansas state government as a software developer. The lady at the front desk told me that my mother called them to speak to me. For security reasons, the motel needs both the name and room number, and my mother didn't have my room number. She didn't even attempt to call my cell phone, which makes me believe that she just wanted to know if I was staying there and where. And a few months later, he posted one last comment assuring everyone of his safety. And by the way, I have moved out of state since making my last thread with this account, and am doing very well with a nice job, and am in better health. To think that this story would have taken a much darker turn if the OP hadn't grown suspicious of the food his own family gave him on his way out.
You know what? That's where it's suspicious. What mother will give you a cup noodle?
Of July 2020,
what kind of mother will give you a cup noodle with you?
The Bureau of Investigation subreddit seeking clues to help locate their missing coworker. The post read, "On Wednesday, July 22, a coworker of mine abruptly up and left work before the end of his shift and hasn't been seen since. 1 week later, a text message is received from him containing only 3 photos. Does anyone recognize the locations shown in these photos? I work in a lab that makes prescription eyeglasses in northern Ohio. Last week Wednesday, about 6 hours into our 10-hour shift, around 7:10 p.m., a coworker of mine got up from his station in a hurry, left his bag with personal belongings at his desk, iPad, Bluetooth headphones, a prescription, phone charger, a book, and a couple other knickknacks, and walked out the door and didn't
But I guess
return.
that makes sense,
No one's
like,
seen him
if you love them, but like,
coworkers thought he was
if
just
you're
sick of the
moving
long
out,
hours
that's
and
a
decided to
weird
quit,
thing
but
to
that just doesn't make
give
sense why
to a
he'd leave
kid,
behind
isn't
his
it?
personal belongings
I mean,
and
if you're
not
living
say
at home, I guess it's
We tried
fine, but
calling
like,
him that same
as a
night, but his phone would just
moving
ring
out
until it went to
present?
voicemail, and by the next morning his phone was turned off. My
Well, like,
boss said
that's
he
a
got
little
hold of his
weird.
mom and that she hasn't seen or heard from him, but didn't seem too concerned as she said he had a history of living somewhat of a nomadic lifestyle in his past. She thinks he may have relapsed and owed someone money or just ran off with some girl. Apparently they aren't very close and don't have the best relationship. I know he had a history of drug abuse, but from everything I've gathered in the 2 years that I've worked with him, he cleaned his life up after an arrest in 2014 or 2015 for drug possession and had been clean since. He always acted normal around me and seemed to be living a productive life. On the subject of the pictures, a couple days ago after work, I received a group text message that was sent to me, 2 of my other coworkers, and 6 other numbers I don't recognize. It was from him and contained the 3 pictures I linked, no text. I tried calling and it rang once then went to voicemail. When I called again, it went straight to voicemail. This whole thing has me feeling very uneasy and I don't know what to think.
making me
Does anybody
crave
here
cup
recognize the
noodles so
location
badly.
of where these photos might have been taken? Below this was an Imgur link to these 3 pictures that OP supposedly received from their coworker. All 3 of these pictures looked like someone had taken them in a hurry, while possibly running away from someone or something. If the OP's story was true, it painted a deeply alarming situation. However, most users remained skeptical, and as time passed, more evidence emerged
does
suggesting
OP
that this
mean?
might be a hoax or part
Original
of an alternate
poster?
reality game. $5 says this turns out to be an ARG. For instance, one user tried to extract the embedded data in the 3 images to see if they had any GPS information, only to be met with confusion. I tried extracting the first picture's EXIF data. It says it was shot on iPhone on 7/7/2017, 13/22. It looks like the photos are in the early morning or night. Do you think the 13/22 time is right? 3 years ago also. Interesting. A few other users also pointed out significant inconsistencies in how the OP described the location, stating, "Yeah, I'm not a fan that they just said Northern Ohio. Like, is it Cleveland, Akron, Toledo, Sandusky? Way too broad. Same, I'm from Toledo and no one ever refers to Northern Ohio. Northwest Ohio, yes. Northern Ohio raised a flag for me too. I'm from Akron and no one says that. For us it's Northeast Ohio." A few months later in November, SoothBB returned to Reddit with a new update and somehow things had grown even more mysterious than they were the last time. I wish I could say we found him or at least closed up any loose ends, but I can't. Shortly after the thread was closed by the mods, a police report was indeed filed. However, in mid-September, I was one of several people that were laid off from the lab we were working at, so if there were any updates on his case after that time, I'm not aware of them. I've done several searches of his name since I left the company to see if any media outlets reported on him, but I personally haven't been able to find anything. The OP also attempted to deny the allegations that the whole thing was made up. Understandably, many people were suspect of my story, and I get that, but I assure you I've not made anything up, nor have I exaggerated details. I got some slack in the original post for not filing a police report. I realize now that even though nobody else was willing to, I should have stepped up and done it myself. At the time, my perspective was that because I don't know this guy on a personal level outside of work, it really should be up to someone closer to him to do that.
Well, I feel that
Rest
too, like, I
assured,
would
a
probably
report was
never
filed. Some people did try to
report
take
it
things seriously,
if
and even
I,
pointed out the
like,
strangely timed layoff.
I guess I
First
would
might be
never even
far-fetched,
think
but
about
could
it.
your
I would be
former
like,
company or
yeah, I
boss
don't
somehow
know
be
who that
involved?
is.
The guy disappears
I
from
can
work,
understand
your
that.
boss tells you shouldn't worry about it, take his belongings, and refuses to access them to help find the guy. Then your boss says he filed a report, but apparently he never did, if the name doesn't come up in the databases. And finally, knowing you are investigating and possibly asking too many questions or drawing too much attention on the case, he fires you and never contacts you again about this case. I mean... However, due to the inconsistencies in Sooth BB's story, the overwhelming majority of users were convinced this was just an attempt at an ARG. I still think it's an ARG. I hope it's an ARG. No offense, OP. But we will likely never know for sure. Unfortunately, shortly after posting this update, Sooth BB deleted their Reddit account, leaving us with no way to uncover the truth.
Okay. What else do they have? I want spooky. 4chan threads. I don't know. That have been solved. They're solved mysteries. Rabbit holes. Places of lost media. Rare mental disorders. Cases of real found footage. Should we watch that? Found footage sounds fun.
On August 15, 1989, a family of 3 was driving along Interstate 205 near Stockton, California when their car began to overheat. Forced to pull over, the father popped the hood to check the damage. It didn't take long to realize they needed professional help. Leaving the mother behind to stay with the car, the father and his young son set out on foot to find a payphone.
Is this actual footage?
As they walked, the boy noticed something unusual. A camouflage jacket discarded by the side of the road.
This is not an actual
This piqued his
footage, right?
curiosity, and he went over to take a closer look, only to find an unmarked VHS tape sticking out from one of its pockets. The boy picked up the tape and later brought it back to his home. By this point, his parents were also curious about what they'd find on this seemingly abandoned tape. So they inserted it in their home VHS player and pressed play. However, the contents of the
it's
tape were
reenactment,
far
right?
darker than what they could have imagined.
This is way
Now,
too...
The original unedited video
Yeah.
has never been made available online, but there are different pieces from various sources that I've done my best to put together. It opened with the camera pointed at a massive fire at night, with what I can only assume is the cameraman saying some ominous stuff.
Look at the fire. This is my domain. My hell.
A bit into the video, the camera refocused and the source of the fire became clear. It was a single-story home that looked like it was still under construction before it caught fire.
I call it home. My hell. The whole sky's black with smoke.
Oh my god, it sounds like doing an anime villain speech. What?
Meanwhile, the cameraman kept talking, and the longer he spoke, the more unsettling it became. Later in the video, you could also hear fire trucks arriving at the scene, and the cameraman commenting on it before ending the video with a direct threat to the viewer.
The fire department's trying to put it out. What a laugh. Go down. But remember me.
What? I can't take it serious, I'm sorry. What is happening?
The tape then abruptly cut to the scene from the 1984 horror film A Nightmare on Elm Street. It wasn't clear if the fire video was taped on top of the movie or if this was a deliberate edit. However, one thing was clear. The frightening video was filmed by the person who set the house on fire. The family handed over the tape to the police and told them exactly where and how they found it. Detectives went back to the location, and sure enough, the family's story checked out. The jacket was still there. But the detectives also found many other items near the jacket, including a wooden pestle, a glove, a cassette of metal music, and a ceramic skull. They also watched the video itself, and it was unlike anything they had seen before.
I've never run across anything as eerie.
Can you tell what the fire was though?
Frightened me, as a matter of fact. I thought about it that night when I went to bed.
Unfortunately, the poor filming conditions and shaky nature of the footage prevented them from extracting any meaningful clues about the location of this fire.
I mean,
despite a frame-by-frame analysis, investigators were unable
there
to
were-
match the tape with any reported fires in the state of California. For all they knew, the fire could have happened anywhere in the US. As for the motive behind this action, the constant talk of hell and evil led the investigators to believe that it had something to do with Satanism. And while this might sound a bit far-fetched today, you have to remember that back in the 1980s, major acts of evil from devil worshippers was a real concern for many people. But without any leads,
I mean,
this was
it
nothing
might
more
have
than a
been
theory.
as well
So after
just a
exhausting
random
all other
person
options,
who just
investigators
decided to be
enlist
like,
the help of the media and
who
featured
saw the
story
fire
on
and was like,
popular
oh my
TV
god,
show Unsolved Mysteries in September of 1980.
time to roleplay.
And this worked better than the cops could have ever imagined. Within 2 hours of the episode airing, investigators received over 1,000 calls from viewers with potential leads. Among these 1,000 plus callers was a man named Ed Tarantino who got shaken to his core after seeing the found footage on TV, because he lived next to the burning house in Redwood City, California, some 80 miles west to where the tape was originally found. More importantly, the show also led the investigators to the owner of the under-construction home that was burning in the video, Bill Otherline.
He's still talking about the noodles.
Act of a crazy
I
person.
want noodles too.
Turned up in my house that's on the videotape. And then you heard the voice of this individual. And you go, this guy ain't playing with a full deck.
This was an extremely expensive loss for Bill. The fire had completely destroyed his under-construction home, costing him $900,000, which is about $2.5 million in today's money. Meanwhile, the Redwood City Fire Department also confirmed the incident. As it turns out, the fire department had captured their own footage of the incident for use in future training, and parts of this fire department footage matched the mysterious tape. Cross-referencing the two videos also revealed that the arsonist was just about 50
Those
feet
noodles
away
look so
from the
good,
fireman
even
when
with
he recorded his video.
poison in them.
The fire department's trying to put it out. What a laugh.
Now, all that remained was to capture the culprit. But that wasn't going to be easy. According to the owner of the fire department reports, the
I just
arson
can't
attack
believe
happened in
like a
August of
real life
1980,
criminal would be
which is
speaking like an
entire year
anime
before the tape was found
protagonist.
on the side of the road. The only lead
Honestly,
the
like
investigators
literally
had
trying
as
to
suspect
roleplay as a
was the name
villain.
mentioned in the video, Omar.
Forget it, Omar. This is what I've been doing on your week's vacation. I said I'll do it. I said I'll do it.
It wasn't much, and for a while it seemed like a dead end. That is, until the police received a new tip from Doris Lance, another person who saw the Unsolved Mysteries episode on TV. She suspected that the Omar mentioned in the video was referring to a 17-year-old boy who lived in the area. And when the police brought him in for questioning, he cracked almost immediately and told them everything. Omar claimed that he was silently standing off camera when the video was filmed, and that it was his 19-year-old friend who started the fire and recorded the video. The investigators
Okay,
were
he did
finally
start
getting
the
close to
fire.
the perpetrator, but they needed more evidence before making their move, so they started tailing the alleged arsonist, observing him from a distance. However, he likely caught wind of the police because soon after the monitoring started, his garage burned to the ground. At that point, the police had no choice but to act. On September 27, 1990, they confronted the 19-year-old directly. And just like Omar, he folded without much of a fight and confessed to everything. One thing I should point out is that the authorities never publicly revealed the identities of the two boys, so I'll call the arsonist John for the sake of convenience. After going through John's home, investigators also found tons of incriminating evidence that linked them to not only the Redwood City fire, but similar arson attacks on 11 other structures
This is
and
war
15 grass
arsonists.
fires. This evidence included things like a picture of graffiti on a wall stating, "Please no more houses," and a news clipping pinned to the wall about recent arsons which the two boys likely caused. But that wasn't all. In the burned down garage, they discovered bloodied knives and mutilated animal parts. They also found tapes containing disturbing
Yeah,
footage
just ignore
of
the
John
meow,
dressing
she
up
wants
as
out.
a satanic vampire and threatening a humanoid sculpture with a knife.
How you doing, Father? I hope you're doing real good.
But not all of the footage was so theatrical. One of the most notable clips showed the two boys goofing around in an open field.
And now, to finish the job.
that field, as it turned out, was being transformed into a housing development. It's likely the boys were furious about the changes and decided to take matters into their own hands by torching under-construction homes to stop the developments. This would also explain the eerie graffiti I mentioned earlier. However, since both of them were minors when they started those fires, they were tried as juveniles despite the severity of their crimes. Omar was sent to juvenile detention, while John was
Did
deemed
anyone
mentally
like get
unwell and
hurt
was
in
admitted to a
fires?
mental institute. What happened to the two after that, we don't know. I've seen some claims that John was released from the mental institute and died in a car accident in 2017. And while there's no direct evidence to back this claim, I did find a news report of a hit and run in Redwood City from January of 2017. The victim of this incident was 45 years old, which aligns perfectly with the age John would have been in 2017. But if this is completely unrelated and John is still alive, I seriously doubt he'd reveal himself now just to satisfy the curiosity of randoms on the internet. As for the tape itself, it's still unclear how it found its way on the side of the interstate.
I mean, they're also teenagers. That doesn't excuse it, but like, you do weird things when you're young.
On August 23rd, 1987, a pair of backpackers were hiking south of the Junco Lake trailhead in the mountains near the tiny town of Tabernash, Colorado.
Yeah, well, I mean, if
However,
it was under
what might have
construction, at
seemed
least
like
it
an
didn't kill
ordinary
anyone,
hike quickly
probably.
turned into an unforgettable experience that would stay with them for the rest of their lives. The two came across the wreckage of a crashed plane with parts
Whoa.
scattered everywhere. They informed the authorities about the find, prompting a complete search of the area for evidence of what happened to this plane and when. While Dale Wood, a Colorado deputy sheriff, was investigating the area, his attention was drawn to a VHS tape hanging from a tree. Most of the tape's insides had come out and were tangled in the branches. But he recovered everything he could and brought it back
Were there,
for
like,
restoration
people
to
in
a
the
somewhat
plane?
playable condition. And the footage was disturbing to say the least. The VHS contained the last moments of two men who went missing 3 years ago, the 36-year-old James Jeb Cottle and his similarly aged passenger Ronald Hugh Wilmond. On August 10, 1984, the two flew from the Granby Airport with the Jeffco Airport as their destination on a small Cessna L-19E Bird Dog airplane. However, they never arrived at this destination. Multiple search parties were deployed to their approximate route, but none were able to find any evidence of what happened to James and Ronald. What made their disappearance
Oh, I mean,
even
did they
more
find
mysterious
bodies
was the
in
fact that
there?
the plane had an emergency locator transmitter, a device that would have broadcast its location in the case
What if
of a
the plane
crash.
was empty?
However, the authorities never received the signal from this device, and their case remained cold for almost 3 years. That is until the pair of backpackers found the wreckage, which in turn led to the discovery of the VHS tape. The footage starts
What about
off
the
pretty normal,
bodies?
with the pilot commenting on things he sees from the cockpit.
Oh, look at that down there, Ronnie, on the left. Nice little lake and a cabin. Those dead trees down there. A whole bunch of them back up in here, those beetles.
Wait, was there? How do you make tapes actually? Did they make a tape while they were flying?
However, around 5 minutes into the footage, things start to go wrong as the ground starts coming closer and closer.
How did the tape appear to be on the trees? How did it like get out of the camera? Don't meow. Shush.
Experts analyzed this footage to find out what went wrong, and apparently the pilot failed to account for density altitude before taking off. For those that aren't familiar with aviation lingo, think of density altitude as the thickness of the air. When it's hot, humid, or a higher altitude, the air becomes thinner, making it harder for planes to fly well. Pilots use density altitude to know how their plane will perform, like how much runway they need or how much
I'm
weight
being mean to the cat. The cat is just loud.
The density altitude around Tabernash was 13,000 feet. In other words, the air was as thin as it would be at an altitude of 13,000 feet. James failed to account for this massive difference.
Oh my god,
When
that's
his plane came across rapidly
scary.
rising mountains around 10,200 feet above sea level, he wasn't able to lift the plane in time to fly over them safely. The footage showed how he tried to quickly turn back, but stalled the plane's engine in the process, resulting in it turning over and crashing into the trees.
Oh no. Oh no.
Damn, hang on, Ronnie!
The footage also explained why the emergency locator transmitter didn't work. The plane flipped upside down just before the crash, which damaged the transmitter, preventing it from signaling for help. It was an unfortunate incident all around. The only potentially good thing that came out of this is that James Cottle's family authorized this found footage to be used in flight instructor training. So maybe somebody's life was spared because they saw this footage and remembered to adjust for density altitude before taking off.
So did they found the bodies? Why did they talk about the bodies? I'm assuming the bodies was inside, right?
Meteorologists were predicting a potential multiple vortex tornado that might touch down in the area. And while this was bad news for the
the wild animals could have eaten the body, you're right.
Also attracted a lot of storm chasers from around the United States. This also
I
included
mean, it's been 3 years, probably. Could have been the thing as well.
55-year-old Tim Samaras, his 24-year-old son Paul Samaras, and their partner 45-year-old Carl Young. The three had extensive experience in safely chasing twisters and gathering valuable data from them. They were also a part of the Discovery Channel's Storm Chasers and were heavily involved in the show from seasons 3 to 5. In May of 2013, the trio had actually arrived in the
I remember
storm area
those.
many days earlier to thoroughly analyze the storm before giving chase.
Oh, I'd say this is the one. Oh, yeah. This is going to be the storm of the day right here. This is going to do it, I think.
Unfortunately, the May 31st twister wasn't something they could have predicted, even with their vast knowledge and experience. It started around 6 p.m. when an EF3 tornado touched down in El Reno, marking the beginning of the chase. However, it wasn't long before the tornado started becoming more volatile.
See, the rain is behind us. Oh my God.
Yeah.
What was supposed to be a category EF3 quickly turned
Wait,
into
does
an
it die in
EF5,
that?
which is the most intense a tornado can get. But even the title of EF5 cannot fully demonstrate the terrifying scale of this particular twister. By the time it stopped growing, the El Reno tornado had a radius of 2.6 miles, the largest in recorded history. It also had a wind speed of 313 miles per hour, or over 500 kilometers per hour. Carl and the Samaras brothers were attempting to ride parallel to the tornado to observe from a safe distance. Unfortunately, the twister made an unexpected turn and started coming towards their car. They tried everything in their power to escape safely, but sadly, it was too late. The tornado flung the car into the air, sending it barreling across the El Reno region. After the storm had passed, search parties found their car, which was reduced to 60% of its
Oh my
original
God.
size. And while Tim's body was found strapped inside the vehicle, Paul and Carl's bodies were found half a mile east and west of the car. All three had tragically passed away in the incident. After some more searching, authorities also found a camera, which was miraculously still recording.
Wait, wasn't it the
after
guys
reviewing
from
footage,
the
it became clear
from the
that it had
show?
recorded Tim, Paul, and Carl's final moments. Now, as far as I could tell, the raw footage from this camera has not been released to the public, and no one has leaked it anywhere on the internet. But a select few people have seen the footage, including the crew's close friend Gabe Garfield. According to him, he could hear Carl talking about
Is that
how
how the
eerily calm the air around them had become
show
moments
ended?
before their end. To which Tim replied, "Actually, we're in a bad spot," before uttering his final words, "We're going to die." To this day, the story of Tim, Paul, and Carl serves as
That's
a
so
stark
sad. I
reminder to
didn't know
aspiring
that.
storm chasers, highlighting the immense danger of their pursuit. Even a team of industry-leading veterans couldn't withstand the unpredictable fury of a twister. On the 1st of June 2024, a YouTube channel by the name of Found Memories.
That's a
uploaded
real
video
thing?
titled
Don't shoot a
Tape
tornado?
92, Found Footage,
Why would they
Jason
shoot a
Street.
tornado?
The video is timestamped for 9:27 p.m. on April 22nd, 2007, and opens with the cameraman placing the camera in a way that faces a sleeping child.
That's already terrifying. Hi Zig, welcome! How are you doing?
Aside from the sleeping child turning a few times, nothing happens for the rest of this nearly 30-minute video. There's not even any unusual sound in the background or anything. Now, despite the footage being completely uneventful, something about this whole thing is inherently unsettling. The lack of context and the uncomfortable silence can easily turn this into nightmare fuel if you have an active enough imagination. According
Why
to
are
the
you
description
recording
of
like
the
it's
video, the
sleeping
original
now?
tape was simply labeled as Jason sleeping. The uploader also gave an explanation for where they found the footage, stating, found in a box full of abandoned camcorder videos, uploading to archive the footage. Perhaps one day someone connected to the video will see it and appreciate it. And while this provides some much needed context, it still leaves the biggest question unanswered. Why would anyone record 30 minutes of a child sleeping? So I decided to dig a bit further. The first thing that came to mind is that this
What?
is just
That's
another
true?
one of those staged,
Some people
artsy,
think
analog
tornadoes are
horror type videos.
live?
However, after going through the channel that posted this video,
Oh, that's
I don't think
interesting.
that's the case.
Okay.
The channel, Found Memories, was created fairly recently in April of 2024. The About section of the channel reads, uploading media I've found to archive, and maybe one day the original owners will find it and appreciate it. I've acquired thousands of videotapes and media over the years from various places. Pawn shops, private sellers,
Enjoy your drinks,
auctions,
Scarlett.
and
I hope you
thrift
enjoyed your
stores, to name a
drinks.
few. I recently had the idea to start this channel as a way to start archiving them and actually do something with them. Maybe one day someone connected
Well, I
to them
mean,
will
yeah,
find them.
I guess
And
it's
this seems to be the truth.
out of
At
context,
the time
it's
of writing,
weird.
this channel has uploaded over 180
But like,
different videos.
it's probably something
And
normal,
almost
right?
all of them
Maybe
are
it's like
extremely
for the
unique in some
doctor or
way.
something to
From
like
children opening their Christmas
I don't
presents in
know.
1991 to a whole wedding.
Like, to check
However, almost none of these
on the
random videos
kid.
are creepy or scary, with the sole exception of Jason sleeping. I highly doubt the owner of this channel filmed or acquired hundreds of random tapes just to sneak in one obscure horror video. So, they're likely telling the truth about finding the tape. But if it's not an artsy horror flick, what is it? Now, while it might be easy to drum up some creepy stalker story, the real explanation might be a lot simpler. More specifically, this was likely recorded by a parent who wanted to observe the sleeping patterns of their child. Maybe to see if they sleepwalk or talk during their sleep.
That's what
Many
I think as
comments under the
well,
video also
probably.
agree with this explanation, with one commenter even providing a personal anecdote to validate this theory, stating, I'm sure they recorded to catch him sleepwalking or talking. When I was 9, I woke up in my mom's closet. My mom about had a heart attack when she opened the door and asked me why I was there. I said, I don't know. She thought I was lying, so one night she videotaped me. But I didn't do it. It was a one-time thing for me. Also could be paranormal reasons. Kid been waking up with scratches, bites, could be anything. 9 times out of 10, there's really no creepy reason parents record kids. Not saying it doesn't happen now, but just way less likely. But
Hi,
at the end of the
Stopika,
day, we really
welcome.
don't know
How are you
and
doing?
can't know the motives of this unnerving found footage. Maybe the channel owner's wish will come true one day, and Jason, or the person who recorded
Hey,
this
I thought
footage,
it
will
was,
find this video and reveal the truth in the comments.
Oh, it's just disturbing found footage, it's not solved. So it's really just a
In August of
footage of some
2021,
kid.
YouTuber Rich Aloha was filming one of his signature diving videos in a pool under a waterfall in Foster Falls
I'm
State
going to
Park,
thank
Tennessee.
you.
He was excited
I
to
have a
jump in
little
the water
tummy
in hopes
ache,
of
so we're
finding
watching
some
videos
treasure
instead
like
of
a
playing
drone or an
today.
iPhone. But what he uncovered instead was a lot more disturbing. After looking around on the lake floor for some time, he saw something unusual sticking out of the ground, which turned out to be a GoPro camera.
Whoa.
The GoPro had clearly been in there for a while, plus the outer shell had massive cracks, which allowed water to get in and fry every electronic component.
Oh
But
no.
before Rich threw the broken GoPro away, he decided to remove its SD card and plug it in, just in case it somehow survived the months underwater. And to his surprise, it was actually fully functional and had the footage of the adventures of a young man. This turned out to be 22-year-old Richard Ragland, who tragically lost his life 2 years earlier, drowning while swimming beneath that very
Aw.
waterfall. In fact, the footage Rich uncovered had Richard's final moments in water.
Wait, you can see how
actually
he
see him getting
drowned?
visibly exhausted and struggling to stay afloat near the end. The camera likely recorded his final breaths as well.
But
however, from my research, the
wait,
complete
that
footage
lake is
unavailable
not that
anywhere
big. How
online.
did
Even
you
if it
drown
was,
in
it wouldn't be
it?
something I could show here on YouTube. Rich likely never released the complete recording out of respect for Richard and his family, which I fully understand. And while the death of such an upbeat young man is sad, at least his family got to see his last happy moments on
There
this
was
planet
so many
thanks to
people
Rich
as well, what? Did they
On
not
the
see him
30th of September
drowning?
2019, at 4:06 p.m., the police in Anchorage, Alaska received a call from a woman claiming to have found evidence of a horrific crime. The woman who called the police was 47-year-old Valerie Kassler.
I
She claimed that
guess.
she was walking around Fairbanks Street when she found an SD card lying on the ground. She picked it up and saw the words "Homicide at Midtown Marriott" written on it and thought that it might be the title of some obscure horror movie. However, nothing could have prepared her for the horrifying content that came up when she plugged in the card to view its contents. According to the reports, the card had 39 images and 12 videos, all from the same crime scene of horrible things being done to a woman in a hotel room. The person behind the gruesome footage stayed off camera, but his unmistakable voice and distinct accent were clear in the videos. And while these videos were never released to the public, the person recording them would have sounded something like this.
There through those trees you'll see the doctor's house. He's like a heart surgeon or brain surgeon or something. There's the other neighbors. And there's the tree in front of the house. And there's the other neighbors.
This is the voice of Brian Steven Smith, who quickly became the #1 suspect in the case. Apparently, he had called the Anchorage Police Department a few days before the SD card was found and complained about someone stealing his stuff. So when the cops were reviewing the footage, someone from the station recognized his voice. The person who found the SD card also recognized the carpet pattern of the hotel in the pictures. It was the Town Place Suites by Marriott, which was located just a 5-minute walk from where the card was found. Cops went to this hotel, and sure enough, Brian was checked into the hotel on the day the horrific pictures and videos were taken. Further investigation into Brian revealed that he was an immigrant from South Africa and had received US citizenship less than a year earlier. He was also working as the manager of a different Marriott hotel in Anchorage. The police also found the discarded remains of his victim during this time.
Oh my god.
Unfortunately, he had gone on vacation with his wife the day the SD card was found. However, he was arrested seconds after landing at the airport in Alaska and charged with over 13 felonies for his unspeakable crimes. Police also revealed the identity of his victim, the 30-year-old Alaskan native named Kathleen Jo Henry. Brian pled not guilty, but the evidence against him was too substantial for him to
How
go
can you
free.
play not guilty? At this
However,
point,
just
just
as he was about
accept,
to
I
face
guess.
Justice, Valerie Kastler gave a testimony that could have complicated this case even further. If you remember, she originally claimed to have found the SD card lying on the road. In reality, she was hired by Brian as an escort. On her way out, she stole his phone. When she went through his phone, likely to clear it, she came across evidence of his monstrous deeds. But she did not want to get involved in such a massive case, so she copied the files to an SD card and came up with the entire found footage storyline. Fortunately, the case against Brian was already strong enough to withstand this revelation, and he was finally sentenced to 226 years in prison in July of this year. And while this would not undo the pain and suffering Kathleen went through, at least now her family can rest easy knowing that the monster who did this to her is rotting in prison.
What's the point of giving like 200 years to a person? Shouldn't you just be like, yeah, your whole life? What are you gonna do? Like, how's like, why do you need to calculate more years if you're gonna die there anyway? Just say like it's forever until he dies. It's just a little weird. What is this? Legal system works in mysterious ways, I guess. If you know you're guilty, you can say you're not guilty and try to argue for a lesser sentence and try to see if you can convince. I mean, if you get in like 200 years, I feel like even if you like get rid of 20 years from there, I don't think you'll be any better. I think even if you can get rid of 100 years out of it, I don't think it will help you. Someone get over 500 years? Yeah. That's weird. I didn't even know they can do that. I thought it was... I thought it was just like, you just say, yeah, until the end of your days or something. I didn't realize you actually get a number of years. Just in case you live that long. Why? What's the point of that? What was that sound? Sounded like something just landed on my window. Was that a cat? Oh. Rabbit holes. Disturbing forest encounters. I don't know, that's kind of creepy. Obscure internet mysteries. Sure.
Persistent trip. On August 14, 2012, a user named Amos No More uploaded a video titled Persistent Trip, Datura. The video, just over 2 minutes long, shows a young man in disarray alone in his room talking directly into the camera. He opens by giving the recording date, March 5th, 2008, and immediately begins recounting a disturbing experience with a hallucinogenic drug. According to him, he's been stuck in an unending trip for over 2 months by the time this footage was recorded, and he claims his symptoms haven't shown any signs of improvement.
Oh no.
March 5th.
Wait, you know him?
2008. Don't seem to be coming down. It's been about 2 months.
Oh, okay.
Can't really go out. Been spending a lot of time in the basement.
Well, maybe he was like a popular case or something.
I think it's wearing off. I don't really know.
He explains he followed instructions from a book precisely, yet has no idea how to escape this nightmare. But it's not just the contents of this video that are unsettling, it's how the video came to be uploaded that makes it all the more eerie. The video's description reads, "This video was uploaded to YouTube several years ago and I haven't been able to find it recently. As I recall, the uploader claimed it was found footage. He said he found a tape on a park bench or something and was concerned about the person depicted therein." And just a few months later, another user by the name of Dizzy Duck uploaded the same video in December of 2012 with the title Endless Trip Video. The description of this second upload more or less aligns with what was mentioned in the first description, with the added information that the original footage was supposedly found somewhere in Philadelphia. Dizzy Duck also points out something disturbing, what looks like a revolver or some kind of gun on a shelf behind the man's left shoulder. Unfortunately, the resolution of both of these uploads is too low for me to identify it as a gun with certainty. But if it is, this would give this already cryptic video a very dark undertone. What really gets me though is the mystery surrounding it.
Very strong hallucinogen.
Despite supposedly being over 14 years old and having over 400,000 views on one of its re-uploads, there's almost no credible information out there. The only other reference I found is this Reddit thread on r/videos from 11 years ago. However, even the original poster of this thread has since deleted their account. So, what's the deal with this video? Is it real or just an elaborate hoax? First, let's assume that all the known details surrounding the video are real, from what the person in the video is saying to what's mentioned in the description. The person in the video is clearly very stressed out, and while he's not going crazy in the traditional sense, his body language, refusal to make eye contact with the camera, and overall demeanor shows that he clearly wasn't 100% there when recording.
I think I boiled the roots right. I did what it said in the book. I don't feel like I'm ever gonna come down. And it's not cool.
Amos, in his re-upload, suggests the substance causing this bad trip might be Datura, a highly toxic plant that can act as a hallucinogen in small doses.
Why would you try that alone though? I feel like even if you try in something that's scary,
for starters, Datura is
you should have someone who will control you, right?
Devil's trumpets. This is because the trips caused by Datura are extremely painful and often lead to bizarre and violent behavior. The person who recorded this video is far too composed to be under the influence of such a strong substance.
Okay.
Secondly, he also talks about boiling some roots to prepare whatever drug he took. Datura, on the other hand, is usually consumed through its leaves or seeds, not the roots. I think a more likely substance he could have used is ayahuasca, which is traditionally made by boiling roots and has effects mild enough that someone could record a video while under its influence. However, regardless of whichever drug he used, tripping for 2 straight months is simply not possible, and here's why. Almost all drugs wear off as soon as they're metabolized or leave the body. Then there's also the question that if he's been down in the basement for 2 months, how is he getting food or making money? Considering these signs, it's likely that he was tripping, but not for 2 months, just a few hours. Many people in the comments of the original video have pointed to the phenomenon where a trip feels like it lasted for way longer than it actually did. Though another likely explanation could be mental illness as well. There is a high likelihood that whichever substance he used caused brain damage and led to schizophrenia, making him unable to tell reality from hallucination. There's also the possibility of hallucinogen persisting perception disorder, which causes a person to experience visual effects that last long after the drug is worn off.
Yeah, I feel like he could be lying, not lying, but like not knowing the truth. He could be, whatever he's saying right now might be not true if he's actually high.
That available information surrounding this mystery is true. For all we know, this could be nothing more than a hoax, especially since the mention of this being found footage sounds rather fishy. This whole thing could have been created by the uploader Amos No More for Internet Cloud. Dizzy Duck's re-upload could be just another move by Amos to build on the found footage storyline. But it's been over 12 years since this upload, and he hasn't done any follow-ups to capitalize on the few 100,000 views it's received. Of course, there's also a middle ground theory. Maybe the original video was real, and the guy in it genuinely thought he was tripping for 2 months. Amos might have stumbled across the initial post before it disappeared, and then decided to create a hoax based on it. Unfortunately, given the sparse amount of information I found,
I feel like
it's
the last
impossible to
one
nail
is
down the truth. In the off chance everything
like
is
very
real,
real.
I hope the person in the video found the help he needed and is doing much better today.
Because I feel like when you are high, you could like say anything. You'll be like, yeah, it's been like months, it's been years.
Comics was a series of webcomics.
And then you're like,
by a
oh
person
no,
named
it was
Jack
actually only 3 minutes.
And while the original website has long been taken down from the internet, there are still archives capturing how it looked back then. As I went through these archives, the first thing that hit me was the surreal art style and the constant fourth wall breaking humor. Even in the very first comic on the website, the characters joke about the camera being zoomed in too close. And this was only the beginning. Over the course of their run, Jack published hundreds of comics featuring countless unique characters and mind-bending, maze-like storylines. The contents of these comics also ranged from bizarre to downright disturbing. Like this one comic titled,
I guess the guy looked a
entire
little bit
universe falls
too
apart. In it, the characters
normal,
slowly
right?
realize that their universe isn't
I
real,
don't know.
causing everything around them to collapse. Panels break down, dialogue turns into nonsense, and nothing makes sense anymore. The comic ends with one of the characters stating, "Alright, I give up. It was all a dream, it was all a dream." However, sandwiched between all this mysterious and chaotic artwork, there's a moment of pause where Jack includes something extremely introspective and philosophical. It reads, "The sad and obvious truth of the matter is that art, once formalized or mechanized, is no longer art, and the few arts that have not been formalized are now being mechanized. There is no mystery or talent required to create artistic beauty. And if a talentless person can do it, why should we give any regard to those who require talent to produce the same result? John may spend a week painting a tree, but Jane will take a photograph and then use a workshop program to make the picture appear painted. There is no visual art creation before the last century that modern technology would not have allowed a less talented person to make better and faster. Let us be realistic and assume this trend will continue. There is nothing we can do to avoid the solemn fact that Michelangelos are no longer needed." These kinds of intellectual reflections were sprinkled throughout his comics. However, the creation of these comics was abruptly cut short when Jack posted a strip simply titled "The End." This was a final note from Jack before he ended his life, starting with the statement, "If you are reading this, I am dead." The rest of the comic listed his will for his various possessions, both physical and digital. Below the comic, there was also a personal reminder Jack had left for himself listing things he needed to do. However, the most mysterious part of the comic was this: a link that explained why Jack did this. Clicking on this link led to an archive of thousands of emails between Jack and various people, including friends and what seemed like an online therapist. These emails are in no particular order and have absolutely zero organization. So, as you might imagine, going through them is a long and arduous task. Unlike other internet mysteries where there's barely any information, here there's almost too much, more than any one person could easily go through. I went through as much as I could, and one thing became extremely clear. Jack was struggling with severe mental illness. That much was already clear from his comics, but going through these emails gave me a good idea of the exact illness Jack was dealing with. For starters, Jack had extreme schizophrenia, which led him to having extremely violent and disturbing thoughts. In one of his emails, he stated, I'm full of seething, boiling hatred pain, and the only reason I'm not going out killing people right now is that I'm lucid enough not to want to deal with the consequences of such behavior. In addition to this, Jack also had dissociative identity disorder, or DID for short. This is evident from his constant mentions of a person named Susie, which he referred to as his best friend and better companion than no one. But I'm certain Susie is not a real person because in one email, Jack mentions how he feels something slipping away and Susie taking control. In another email, I also linked to a clip of the character Ben Chang from the TV show Community, where Ben Chang talks to his alternate personality. Jack also used the name Simon Sane in these emails. Looking up this name online, I found a YouTube channel with a 4+ hour stream of him talking to himself in 2 different voices while tripping on LSD.
Don't do it. That's my advice to everyone. Don't be polite.
I think there may be an overgeneralization.
Well, whatever. Okay, so.
This theory of Jack's complex mental state was pretty much confirmed by the comment that first brought this mystery to light in the first place. In December 2016, someone on r/AskReddit asked about the creepiest things on the internet. In response to this, a user named Jess248 posted a link to the original Poorly Planned Comics website and also shared a personal anecdote about Jack, stating, "Might not be the creepiest, but I can't handle a lot of disturbing things. This one got to me. A childhood friend of my husband's. The guy was insanely brilliant, literally. Husband lost touch over the years. These were his comics. The very last one was his self-assassination note. They had the memorial at his condo. He had blocked out all the windows and wrote in Sharpie all over the walls. It was his breakdown, trying to find meaning before he took his life. One of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen. And while everything that I've covered so far might seem like a lot, it's only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the amount of comics, emails, and videos Jack left behind. Not to mention things that aren't explicitly stated in his work, like his obsession with the 1985 book called Maze. Maybe one day, people on the internet will finally comb through everything and complete Jack's story. Jack froze emails. In November of 2011, Tim Hart was sitting on his couch surfing the web on his laptop when out of nowhere he received a mysterious email that left him in complete disbelief. The email read, "I'm watching.
Wait, is that
Can
a
you hear
different
me? I'm at your house.
story?
I'm in your attic." Now, receiving an email like this would make most people think that they were either the target of a prank or had a stalker lurking nearby. But for Tim, both of these possibilities were completely out of the question because the email came from his friend Jack Froze, who had died about 5 months earlier. What made this particularly convincing
That's
was the bit
creepy.
about
Oh my
cleaning the attic.
god.
Just weeks before Jack's death, he visited Tim's attic and they joked about what a mess it was. And while Tim was still trying to figure things out, Jack's cousin, Jimmy McGraw, also received an email from Jack a few days later. However, this one was even more mysterious than the last one, reading, "Hey Jim, how you doing? I knew you were gonna break your ankle, tried to warn you. Gotta be careful. Tell Rock for me. Great song, huh? You're welcome." Couldn't get through to him, his email didn't work. Now, the simplest explanation for these emails is that Jack had scheduled them to be sent before he passed away. However, this theory has 2 major flaws.
That's actually cool if
You
that
see,
was true.
Jack died of heart arrhythmia, a condition where electrical signals that tell the heart to beat don't work properly. This happens mostly out of nowhere, and
So
there's
he
no
didn't
reliable
know
way
he
to predict
was
this ahead of
gonna
time.
die, right?
In other words, Jack had no way of knowing that he was going to die, which
Okay.
would have prompted him to schedule these emails. Secondly, while it can't explain the email Tim received since the two talked about his dirty attic before Jack's death, there's no way to rationalize the email Jimmy received. He sprained his ankle about 2 weeks before receiving the email, which was nearly 5 months after Jack's death.
So someone is
unless Jack
sending
had the
those
superpower of
emails.
future sight, he couldn't have possibly predicted such an unlikely event for his scheduled email. This leads us to the second theory, one that the recipients themselves preferred to believe, that this was Jack's reaching out to them one last time from beyond the grave.
No, I think someone's.
Would like to say Jack sent it, just because I look at it as he's gone, but he's still trying to connect with me and still trying to tell me.
I guess, but I think someone's using his email.
However, while it's comforting to imagine that those who have left this world can still watch over their loved ones, this is by far the least likely explanation for these emails. Especially compared to the possibility that someone close to both Tim and Jimmy
Yeah,
had
someone
access to
knows.
Jack's email account. This also explains the inclusion of recent events like Jimmy's ankle injury in the emails. Another thing I noticed while looking into this incident is that Jack's name is spelled incorrectly in the signature of both emails. It should be F-R-O-E-S-E, not F-O-R-S-E. If Jack was the one who wrote these emails, either before or after his death somehow, then why would he spell his own name incorrectly twice?
If someone is impersonating him, it's also weird if they spell the name incorrectly.
But now, 13 years later, there's little hope we'll ever learn the truth. Grateful Doe Hitchhiker. On June 26, 1995, at around 1:30 p.m., Virginia State Police responded to the report of a car crash near the small town of Emporia, Virginia. The Volkswagen Vanagon involved in the incident was completely wrecked from the front due to a collision with roadside trees. And since neither of the two passengers were wearing a seatbelt, both of them were partially ejected from the front windshield and were deceased by the time police arrived. One of the victims of this crash was quickly identified as 21-year-old Michael Hager, a student at the University of South Carolina. However, every effort to identify the second guy proved entirely fruitless. His face was heavily disfigured during the crash, and he didn't have an ID on him either. Police were also unable to find any matching fingerprints in their database. Michael's family also had no idea who the second person was. Curiously, both Michael and this unknown person were wearing the same tie-dye t-shirt with the logo of the Grateful Dead rock band. After searching the bodies, police found 2 disheveled tickets for the Grateful Dead concert that took place a day prior in DC. They also found a handwritten note which stated, "Jason, sorry we had to go. See you around. Call me. Caroline T and Caroline O. Bye." Further investigation led to the conclusion that this unknown writer was simply hitchhiking. The two likely met at the concert and became friends. As for the crash, the police determined that it was simply caused by the driver falling asleep at the wheel. But that wasn't all. The only 2 things police knew about the unidentifiable man were that he was a fan of the Grateful Dead and that his name was likely Jason, as was written on the note.
What about
Jason
like
was
teeth
declared
and
as
stuff?
John
You
Doe,
should
which
be
is a
able
name
to
given to a person whose real name is unknown. And
to
due the
identify a
Grateful Dead
person,
shirt he was
right?
wearing, Jason became known as the Grateful Doe. However, they were unable to find any more information on him, and the case was closed after some time.
Wait, you just
that is until 2012,
give it up?
when the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children published a digital recreation of Jason's face. This attracted the attention of internet detectives who became interested in identifying this person some 17 years after the original incident.
I really need to
notable
pee.
person
1
who got
second.
involved in the case
Sorry,
was-
I'll be right back. I'm back. Also, you're right. It probably was earlier as well. Also, like, how do you even identify a person by teeth? Don't you need to like have the example or something? DNA is actually a 50-50 chance of it working, as the only way to know if they have match is if you either did a crime before. Oh, okay, yeah. I guess that makes sense because like not everyone has like data, right? And you need dental records, that's true as well. I'm not talking to myself. I'm not crazy. Maybe I am. Maybe I have problems.
Zombie began scouring the internet for any useful information they could find, and also founded a subreddit solely dedicated to finding the real identity of Jason. Zombie also created this missing person poster of sorts for Jason, which included all of the available information as well as a link to contact Zombie. The poster had a catchy title which read, "Can you help give him back his name?" Surprisingly, this poster
What
went
is
super
that?
viral across
That
all social media
reconstruction is
sites
so
and finally led to a
creepy.
breakthrough.
The one on the
Right after
side.
The poster was published, a man
What
named
is
Steve
that?
contacted Zombie
What is
and claimed that
this?
he knew who Jason
This
was.
is terrifying.
According to Steve, his full name was Jason Callahan. Now the only thing left to find was any living family members of Jason. Fortunately, that didn't take long. In January of 2015, the following was posted after seeing the missing person poster on Facebook. OMG, this is my son Jason Callahan from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I've been looking for him all this time with no luck. Today, my other son saw this Facebook page, and after all the years of praying for him to just call me or come home. Apparently, Jason had left his home when he turned 18 and was traveling around the country on his own.
Aww.
All this time, his mother thought that Jason was dodging her calls and simply didn't want to return home.
I see. Welcome
With
to
that,
the
after
YouTube
2
chat.
decades, one of the most mysterious John Doe cases was solved. Though it is sad to think about his mother, who thought that her son was alive, only to learn about his death through the internet 20 years later.
Actually, do they actually show the? I
Indianapolis
wish they would show
wrecking
the
ball
picture,
theft.
the actual picture.
In the 1970s, newspapers
I wonder
in
how
the
good the
Indianapolis region
reconstructions
reported
are.
the most bizarre theft.
Thank
Someone
you!
had apparently
Thank you for
stolen
this
an
up!
entire wrecking ball without getting caught. This became a big mystery at the time, and it's still a mystery today, nearly 50 years later. So, what happened? How could something as massive and heavy as a wrecking ball vanish overnight?
Wait, someone
Before we
stole
get
a
to that,
wrecking
it's important
ball?
to mention that the facts surrounding this mysterious theft are very inconsistent. Some sources claim that the ball was 5 tons and 200 feet in the air. Other sources say that the ball was only half that weight at 2.5 tons.
Who needs a
There's
wrecking
also a
ball?
mystery surrounding the date of when this event happened. A newspaper report I found on the incident was from July of 1973. However, a Redditor found the mention of this mystery in a book which listed the date as 1974
Was it Miley Cyrus?
instead. This book also listed the weight as 2.5 tons instead of the 5 tons mentioned in the newspaper.
She just
adding
stole the
further
wrecking
confusion.
ball and then made the music
This
video.
might not sound like a big deal, but a difference of 2.5 tons can make a wrecking ball much easier to steal with a truck and a well thought out plan. The bigger question, however, is why? As the 1973
I feel
newspaper
okay.
states,
I guess
"We
it's
can't
weird to
figure out
lose,
what
lose a
someone would
nuke
do
as
with
well,
a
but like at least you
5-ton
can
metal ball."
assume who
Well,
might
there
steal
are
a
a few
nuke.
prevalent
Who needs a
theories on
wrecking
that.
ball?
One of these theories speculates that this was the work of a rival company, which
Why
is just
do you need
cartoonishly
to
evil
steal a
enough to be
wrecking
true.
ball?
But the thing is, melting the wrecking ball to sell the steel would have been too expensive, and it's highly unlikely that they had a crane lying around to use with the stolen wrecking ball. So, if this theory is true, the only plausible explanation is that they stole the ball to slow down their rival's work and cause financial trouble. This
Can't
also
they just
checks
get
out
another
since,
wrecking
according to the
ball? Are they that
1973
expensive?
newspaper article, the ball was stolen during a demolition job. That said, there's also another theory that is also a bit out there, but can make perfect sense if we had more information regarding the finances of the company the ball was stolen from. According to this theory, the company stole its own wrecking ball and hid it somewhere as a form of insurance fraud. Also, while researching this topic, I came across a similar incident that happened in Dallas, Texas in 1978. If the wrecking ball theft in Indianapolis was truly for insurance fraud, maybe a demolition business owner in Dallas
I mean, I
sought
guess you can
success
steal
and
different
decided to
things.
do the same. Overall, because this happened so long ago and there's very inconsistent
It's just
information on
weird.
it, we'll likely never know what happened to this disappearing wrecking ball.
Okay, what else did they have? I don't know. I'm always curious in like found footage of missing people, but at the same time, I'm kind of scared of watching that because that's real people. I think they should look into Miley Cyrus for that wrecking ball, though. I think she might be the culprit. She might have not been born yet. It probably was in her family for generations. Let's do the Tinder meetups. That sounds fun.
In 2017, Alex downloaded Tinder for the first time in his life. Because he'd never had much success with women and he didn't consider himself too attractive, he figured he might as well try his luck with dating apps. As is often the case for average-looking guys in online dating, Alex initially didn't get a lot of attention from the kind of girls he wanted to meet up with. But things took a turn when pretty soon he got a message from a pretty blonde girl named Katie. At first, Alex assumed she was either a bot or a catfisher, as she was by far the most attractive girl who had ever paid him any real attention on the app. being that it was his first time on the app, he didn't know entirely how to act. I mean, on the one hand, if Katie was a real girl, he didn't want to screw things up with her by ghosting her. But on the other hand, he didn't want to entertain any bot or walk into any obvious trouble. After overthinking
Hello,
for several hours, Alex finally
Beth,
decided
the
to
real?
just ignore the text,
Welcome.
frustrated
How are you
by his
doing?
unexciting introduction to online
So welcome back, Sushabad. Welcome.
But unlike most bots who usually don't message people more than once after being ignored, Katie reached out to him once again just 3 days later. In the back of his mind, he was still a little bit suspicious,
welcome.
but he was
Welcome,
strongly
welcome.
considering the possibility that Katie was a real person. And after taking a more in-depth look at her profile, he decided to give her a chance and texted her back, thinking what's the worst that could happen. Against all expectations, Alex and Katie hit it off immediately, like to the point where they were messaging each other pretty much every day. Having that nagging feeling in the back of his mind that she actually wasn't real the entire time,
Okay,
he
just
finally
video
asked her
call.
to prove she was real by having a video
Yeah.
call. And she had no problem doing that.
Oh my god.
Fast forward a couple of weeks and they were having phone conversations and video calls all the time. It was pretty much clear that Katie was a real person. After talking with Alex on Tinder for about a month, Katie suggested that Alex should go and visit her. Even though he trusted her by this point, he was still hesitant to meet up with a girl he met up online, especially considering the fact that they were 8 hours apart.
For some reason, I assumed
But
people
Katie
on
continued
Tinder
to
just like
insist,
texting for
and
5
after weighing all
minutes
his
and then they're
options,
like
Alex finally accepted, figuring he
going
could
to
take off
fuck
a
or
day or
something.
two to go see if they actually had any in-person chemistry.
I didn't realize
When the
people
day
actually
came, he
text
was
for a while
nervous,
before
but the
going on a
last thing he
date.
wanted to do was cancel on her. So he started to drive to Katie's place. However, not long into it, he started to notice something was a little off. She messaged him almost compulsively to ask him where it was and how long until he was going to be there. Even though she must have known Alex was driving, whenever he took more than half an hour to respond, she would spam him with texts, insisting he check his phone more often. It threw him off a bit, of course, but Alex was nervous, and so he chalked it up to her being nervous as well. He kept driving, and as he got closer to the location Katie had given him, he realized it was going to be harder than he thought to find the house. The directions were pretty confusing, and he had to drive through a series of gravel roads surrounded by thick trees to get to the location. Every road kind of just looked the same.
Why would you
After
go?
driving
Okay,
around
okay.
in probably
First rule
multiple
of Tinder: you never go to someone's house when you just met them. You go to the public place. You don't go to someone's house on the first date. What's wrong with you? Do you have brains?
For what felt like hours, he finally made it to Katie's at about 2 p.m. He was immediately surprised by how old the house looked. There was a boarded up window on the second floor, and the building looked like it had seen better days for sure. Still, he caught a glimpse of the red buggy that Katie loved to talk about over text, and feeling slightly comforted, he parked right in front of the garage.
Yeah, it's like,
He
have
texted
you
her
watched
that he
any
was
horror
there, and
movies?
Katie replied with a
Or like
single
true
smiley
crimes?
face.
That's how people
A bit
kill
weird,
you.
but he figured that was the go-ahead to get out of the car and finally knock on the door, so he did so. And that's when he noticed an older guy staring down at him from one of the second-floor windows. The drive there had already been pretty strange, but this was by far the creepiest thing that had happened to him ever since he left his house. Still, he did remember one time over the phone how Katie had talked about her dad and how he would sometimes visit her, and he assumed the man on the second floor must have been him. Again, going back to feeling nervous, he finally knocked on the front door, where Katie appeared a few seconds later, inviting him in with a warm smile. Even though he FaceTimed her multiple times, so he pretty much already knew she was real, after all the things that had happened, he was pretty relieved to actually see her in person. She gave him a hug, and he breathed a bit of a sigh of relief. They talked for a little while, and that's when Alex asked her why she hadn't told him about her dad being there that day. Katie's face instantly showed confusion, and she responded that her dad was halfway across the country and wasn't planning on visiting for at least a few weeks.
Wait, she's
Before
not
she
the
knew, she
weird
was home
one?
alone. Thinking she was obviously just trying to scare him now, Alex kind of rolled his eyes and explained
she's
how he'd
not the
seen her
weird
dad
one?
looking at him through the second floor window when he got out of his car. That's when Katie's face turned an obvious pale color, and she whispered to Alex that they had to leave the house immediately. Surprised by the seriousness of her reaction, his heart kind of fell to the bottom of his chest, realizing they might be in serious danger. They went out the front door and got a good view of the house a good distance away, and that's when Alex begged for an explanation.
No, go into the car,
According to
leave
Katie,
on the
she
car,
wasn't
and then
expecting any other
explain.
visitors, and she didn't know who the old man was or how he had even gotten in. Alex called the police as Katie was sort of standing behind him, and that's when he heard her kind of gasp and point up at the second floor window. There again was the old man looking down at them. He looked sorta old and frail, as if he hadn't eaten in several days. As soon as
Exactly,
I noticed
that's
that
true
Katie
as well.
was
Don't
next,
invite
he sorta
someone
backed
random into
away,
a house.
slowly
Go to a
disappearing into the
hotel at
darkness
least
of the
if you're
rest of
like
the
planning
house
just
and out of view from Katie and Alex. Pretty terrified from the
Just
sight,
to fuck
the two of
them, I don't
got into
know.
Alex's car,
Don't
where they
invite them
locked
to a
the doors
house.
and waited for police to arrive. They didn't want to fully leave the premises because they wanted to be there when the police arrived, but they also wanted some sort of safety to protect them if any sort of danger came their way from this man. 2 police officers arrived about 30 minutes later. They happily searched the entire house from top to bottom. However, they didn't find anything, except the back door hanging wide open, but the man himself was nowhere to be seen inside the house. The cops couldn't really do anything at that point, so they kind of just told the two to go back inside and make sure all the doors and windows are locked and to call them back if anything else happened.
Well,
they left,
at
and
least,
Katie,
you know,
pretty understandably was too scared to spend the night alone, and so Alex agreed to stay with her downstairs
this is
on the
like
couch to avoid going to the second floor.
was it hanging bridge
Katie
effect or
explained how
something?
her dad owned a shotgun, and so the two of them grabbed it and put it by their side as they sat there. They sort of tried to fall asleep, and a couple hours later, Katie actually managed to do so. But Alex sort of felt an obligation to protect her, and so he remained awake watching TV with the shotgun now on his lap. Ever since the cops had left,
They
the
went
night was
back
going
into the
pretty
house? Why would they
peacefully,
go
and
back
Alex
in
kinda
there?
forgetting about what had all happened, he even thought he might still have a chance with Katie the next day. But at around 2 a.m., Alex started to hear the sound of a doorknob being turned in the upstairs kitchen. Horrified, he tightened his grip on the shotgun, determined to scare away whoever was trying to get into the house. He slowly walked up
Why
the
would you say
stairs to the
exactly?
kitchen, where he turned on a light so his presence would be known. He pointed the shotgun at the door that was making the noise. And
Go
to
to a
his horror, on
hotel.
the other side of the glass door, he saw the same frail-looking old man from earlier that afternoon.
I mean, he looks
For
frail.
a guy who was blatantly breaking and entering, the man looked shocked to see Alex, but after a couple of
Just
seconds,
push
he
him.
turned around and ran off into the woods once again. He immediately went downstairs to wake up Katie and told her what had happened, and called the cops for the second time that day. Again, they took about 30 minutes to arrive, and this time, instead of searching just the house, they also searched the surrounding woods. However, the old man again was nowhere to be found.
I feel
All
like
they
you
could do
should
this time
install
was
a
suggest to
camera at
Katie
this
and Alex to
point.
go sleep somewhere else for the night, as obviously this house was not safe. Realistically, Alex realized that they probably should have done this after the first time of seeing him, but he was kind
Really?
of just going along with Katie. Obviously, he realized this wasn't the best first date, but he was just happy that the two of them were okay. The cops left, and so Alex and Katie sort of said their goodbyes, and Katie went to go spend the night at her friend's house. Alex hung around for a little while longer to call his brother and tell him about what had happened. A few minutes later, sitting in his car on the phone with his brother and about to pull away, he saw someone move out of the corner of his eye. He noticed it was the same old man standing in front of the
Yeah, I was
house
gonna say it's like trauma
He put
bonding.
the pedal to the floor.
Surely they're in
and told
love
his
now,
brother what
right?
was happening, sort of as it was happening. After he got off the phone with his brother, he debated calling Katie and telling her what had happened. He didn't really want to, knowing that it might scare her, but ultimately he decided he probably should. Although he did end up going on a couple of dates with Katie after that, he said he never fully got over the incident, and they eventually broke things off. According to Alex, Katie never went back to that house alone.
Okay, maybe the trauma bonding didn't work.
In
Isn't that the thing though? Like, if
Brian
you
Nolan was 20 years
survive
old
something
and was
scary
enjoying all
together,
that
you feel
Tinder
like you're in
had to
love.
offer. Aside from the occasional bad date where he got stood up or just didn't connect with the girl he met up with, he was pretty happy with the way things were going for him on the app overall. One
That's why
weekend in
every time
winter,
I
he
go
made
on
plans
date,
to
I
visit
pretend to
some
be
friends
a
at Indiana
murderer
University
first.
in Bloomington. You know, just to hang out, go out, and
To
have
scare
fun.
them.
The first night he was there, everything went according to plan.
and then
Ryan
I
had a blast partying with his
take off the mask
At some
and
point during the
be like,
weekend,
no,
he
no,
figured
don't
he
scare,
might
don't
as
be
well get on
scared. It's
Tinder to try
okay.
and meet up with a cute girl
It
in
was me
Bloomington and see where things
the
went.
whole time.
Like usual for Ryan, it didn't take long for him to get a match.
It never
After
worked
talking to
yet,
this
but
girl
you
named
know.
Jane for a little less than a day, they started making plans to
joking,
meet
don't
up
do
that
that.
same evening. Jane was pretty attractive and fun to talk to, so he thought, why not? After letting his friends know he was going to meet up with his Tinder date, he left the apartment and made the 5-minute drive to her place. As soon as he got to the building, he texted Jane in the app and asked her which door he was supposed to go in. He waited for her to respond as he sat in his car, but soon realized that was kind of stupid, and so he got out of his car and started walking around the complex to hopefully give her an idea of where he was, and maybe he'd see her outside her door. After
Again,
a while,
why is
as he
everyone
was
inviting
walking,
people to
Jane
their
finally
house?
responded, and Ryan finally could walk to the right door. He stepped in front of it and texted her back to meet him at the door and let him in, assuming the door would be locked. Keep in mind, it was about 10 p.m. in the dead of winter. He looked back and forth from his phone screen to see if she responded, back to the door to see if she was answering it. That's when he noticed movement from the corner of his eye coming from one of the windows.
I don't
He
know.
took a better look and saw what looked like 4 different people looking at him through the blinds. He thought it was pretty creepy, but he also didn't know that window was to Jane's specific apartment. It could have been one of her neighbors or something, and he also wasn't in the best part of town, so he kind of just brushed it off. He again texted Jane to ask her where she was. Less than a minute later, his phone dinged, and it was her replying that the front door to the complex was already open. He was kind of surprised that she would leave the door unlocked so late at night, especially in this part of town. He walked in and shut the door.
Good night,
behind him.
Rim. Thank you very much for
There was only
coming
one
today.
dim light, so he couldn't really
Take
see
care,
anything.
take care.
He was fidgeting around
Very
the wall
well.
looking for a light switch. Almost immediately, he heard a voice behind an apartment door whisper, "He's right outside the door." That's when he realized the window he saw outside was to Jane's apartment. It was just to a different room. He got a strong gut reaction telling him he was in danger, and he quickly sprinted out of the complex. Now running, he went to his car and hightailed it out of there as fast as he could. The whole way back, he couldn't stop thinking about what would have happened to him had he continued further, thinking some sort
Well,
of Jane was actually in there.
He could have died
Starting
on
to
one
realize
hand
that Jane
and
probably
could have
didn't
had the
exist
time
at
of
all,
his life on
and
the
that thought
other.
alone sent shivers down his spine. When he got back to his friend's place, he explained everything to them about what had happened, but they ultimately didn't really take him that seriously and kind of assumed he was just overreacting about the whole thing. A little later that evening, they went and got a few beers, and right before he went to bed, he got an ominous text from Jane saying, "Where did you go? I've been waiting for you all night." Immediately, he blocked the number and went to sleep. He never found out who exactly was waiting for him in that apartment, but if one thing's for sure, he knew it wasn't a girl named Jane. In 2021, Abe was dumped by his long-term girlfriend. The experience left him pretty bruised up, but after a while he decided to get back out there and start dating again. Abe was more on the shy side,
Yeah,
and so
I feel
he
like you
wasn't
shouldn't
the
invite
best at asking
unknown
girls
people
out.
to your house
He
unless
wasn't
you
exactly sure why, but
at least been on a
either
few
way,
dates
it
with
wasn't his
them.
strong suit.
You know you can trust
when Abe had
them.
met his ex 6 years earlier, Tinder and other dating apps were just becoming popular, so online dating was pretty unfamiliar to him. But now he was single, and so he was pretty excited to try it out for the first time. He had a few friends that had found success on dating apps, and so he was pretty optimistic. But after a few months of using Tinder, he realized online dating wasn't at all what he thought it would be. He only managed to meet up with one girl in a park, and after 20 minutes, she played the classic phone call move, claiming she had gotten called into work. As you can probably guess, he never
Does that
heard back
actually
from her
happen?
again. He was about to call it and just give up on dating apps completely when he got matched with a
Do
girl named
people actually do that?
She
Like,
was
do
a
they
really
actually
pretty
live
girl
from
who he
dates?
knew was way
I just
out of his
finished the
league
date.
and
You're
had a
already there.
sneaking
Might as well have
suspicion that he was
fun.
being catfished or played by
Unless the
one of
person
his
is
friends.
really like
He'd heard many
weird.
stories of catfishing, and at one point he thought for sure Danny was going to be some 50-year-old dude. But because he didn't have many other options, and he was thrilled at the small possibility of Danny being who she said she was, he continued to talk to her anyway. They talked for a few days, and finally agreed to meet at a local park, which Abe thought would be a perfect spot for a first date. There was this big lake in the middle and a series of trails that went all around the lake, which he thought would be pretty romantic.
A
They
perfect
agreed to meet
place
up
for
at 5 p.m.
murder.
when both of them had gotten off of work. A little after 5, she messaged him saying she was walking
Why
to
do
the
people not
pavilion
go
where the
on dates
picnic
to
table
the cinema or like
He
to the
looked over to his
restaurant?
left
Why
out
do
of
we
his
go
car
on such a
window,
weird
and
places
sure
for the
enough, there
first
was the
in
girl
such a
from
weird
the Tinder
places
pictures.
for the
She
first
was
date?
actually real. A newfound nervousness knowing that she was actually real, Abe got out of the car and walked up to her. They were able to talk for a few hours and actually had some pretty good chemistry between the two of them. Abe honestly couldn't believe
They
he was
should
pulling it
have
off.
reviews actually.
Later
Yeah,
that
went on
evening,
one
as their
date,
talk was
2
starting
out
to
of
wrap up,
5
they decided
stars.
to go for a walk on one of the trails, not wanting to end the date. And even though it was
Ghosted
starting to
me.
get dark out, they decided to do it. Normally, Abe would never have agreed to walk in
That
the
would
dark
be
with a
so
stranger
fun.
he had just met
Someone needs
online.
to implement
But he
that.
felt calm with Danny for some reason. He trusted her. They even held hands, and for the first time since he had been dumped, Abe felt something special. They walked for a long time along the lake until it was pretty much completely dark, at which point Danny suggested that they turn around and start making their way back to the parking lot. For the first few minutes, the walk back was perfect. They had a few more good conversations, and it felt like the chemistry was continuing to grow. However, that's when things took a turn for the worse. They weren't far from the parking lot when Abe noticed what looked like a man standing in the walkway, just watching them from a distance. The guy was just standing there, which obviously wasn't normal, and he could barely see him from the distance, so he started to wonder if it was just his imagination. He didn't say anything to Danny at first, but as they got closer, with the help of the faint light of the moon shining through the trees, he realized it was a person. Danny froze before Abe could say anything, and that's when he asked her if she could see the man, and she said that she could. That's when Danny shouted at the man and asked him if he needed anything, but the man just continued to stand there, staring at them. Abe was a bit taken aback by this, thinking they should just sneak away rather than make some giant scene about it. He thought this would put them at a better chance of being attacked, but he also didn't want to seem too scared in front of Danny. He tried to write off the whole thing as some idiot trying to play a joke on them, doing his best to hide the fear in his voice as he also yelled out. Danny reluctantly nodded towards the man, ensuing that they should keep going. And so Abe did so. He walked with her. He continued to pray that the man was just playing a joke on them, or that he would just turn around and leave them alone. But the guy didn't move at all. To make matters worse, they could now clearly see that he was concealing something behind his back. When they were about 10 feet away from him, the man finally moved his hands from behind his back and pointed a hunting knife at them. In a low and rough voice, he commanded them to turn around and put their hands above their head. Abe sort of froze up, not realizing the reality of the situation he was in. He honestly had no clue what to do. He had never been robbed before, and at that moment he knew he was in very real danger.
You should run.
That's when he suspected Danny of setting him up. He kind of looked over at her and wondered if she really could be behind this. However, that thought quickly left his head when Danny started to aggressively argue with the guy. Before Abe could even process what was happening, she started running at the armed man.
What the fuck?
Right before she reached him, she kind of threw her body at him and managed to knock him over. As soon as the man hit the ground face up, she shouted for Abe to run. Abe, kind of now even
oh my god,
by what he was seeing,
marry her.
Stood there, but finally started to run. He didn't want to leave Danny alone, but he didn't really need much more convincing.
Okay, maybe don't marry him.
Danny managed to get up and
he just left.
They could both clearly hear the man running after them, and they made their way off the trail and sort of down this shortcut towards the parking lot. As soon as they got there, they both threw themselves into Danny's car and drove off, not even checking if there was anyone behind them as they pulled out of the parking lot. As they picked up speed and were starting to actually drive off, Abe looked in his rearview mirror, and that's when he saw the man with the knife in his hand still standing there. He was standing alone in the parking lot, again just staring at them as they drove off. Another thing they did notice is that there were other cars in the parking lot.
Did he call the police?
There were 3 other ones. This made them think that the guy may have had other accomplices with him. When they were a safe
or maybe as victims? Hello?
Reported what had just happened. The cops arrived at the scene pretty quickly, but the man was long gone, and the only car left in the lot now was Abe's. After they gave their statements to the cops and they left the area, they decided to go on a late-night dinner and stayed up all night talking about what had just happened. It was almost like the shared sense of danger from the incident had brought them closer in some way, and despite his horror, Abe decided to just go with it. Fast forward to 2 years later, and Abe and Danny are now engaged. Whenever
See,
they
fell in love.
They always have a laugh at people's reactions.
I mean,
when they tell them
if the girl saved me like that, I would fall in love too. I would be like, okay.
When he was 21, Taylor had just gotten dumped by his girlfriend and had also recently become a police officer. As a 21-year-old new cop, he had this sort of I'm invincible and I can take on anyone mentality. So when he downloaded Tinder and matched with a good-looking girl named Brianna, who was way out of his league, he assumed things would go great for him. After getting to know her a while on Tinder, they finally set up a date to meet. Brianna had mentioned our
I feel like when that happens, you should kind of question everything more. I mean, I'm not saying that never happens, but like 90% of the time that could be a scam.
When the night came for them to meet, he was pretty excited to pick her up, and she seemed pretty excited as well as she got into his car. As she guided him to the field, Taylor knew it was going to be a great night. They had lucked out with the weather, and there were a ton of stars out. And it was this huge, peaceful, open space with some nice woods. There were deer.
Why
and there
do
were even
they
other
like go
wildlife
to the
visible in
woods so much? Go to a normal
It was
place.
the textbook
What
perfect
is wrong
spot
with
for a
these
first
people?
date. However, as soon as Taylor parked the car, he noticed some really dim headlights in the distance. It looked like a van, but he wasn't entirely sure. When the vehicle got closer, he confirmed that it was a van, and he was a bit confused thinking they were the only ones on the property. As the van got closer, it didn't look like it was stopping, and it was in perfect head-on collision line with the parked car they were in. But as it got closer, it finally hit the brakes and stopped almost headlight to headlight with their parked car. It pretty much blocked Taylor's car from moving forward at all. Brianna seemed to have a confused look on her face, and so assuming she didn't know who it was, he kind of prepared for the worst and told her to stay in the car while he went to see what was going on. He grabbed his flashlight and walked up to the van, where he saw a pretty big dude sitting in the driver's seat. Sort of angrily at this point, he asked him what was going on and if he could back up his car a little bit. Surprisingly, the man was actually really polite, and in a low, kind voice, he said he was the owner of the property and didn't mean to scare them at all. According to the man, who introduced himself as Bob, he had been having trouble with poachers on his property and just wanted to make sure Taylor and Brianna weren't going to be shooting at the deer or hurting any of the other animals on the property. Taylor, a bit taken aback by this, lowered his voice to a more calm level. He smiled politely and assured him that they only came out to look at the stars and the wildlife. Bob seemed to be pretty happy with his explanation, and a few seconds later he wished them a nice evening and drove away. Taylor, pretty happy with how he had handled things, went back to his car ready to enjoy his first date. However, now Brianna, for whatever reason, didn't seem to be on the same page, and he noticed something very off about her behavior. Instead of actually talking to him and enjoying the date like they were just before, she was now texting nonstop.
Oh my
And when
God.
Taylor asked her who she was talking to, she refused to answer. He thought it was pretty weird, but he chalked it
She
up to her
wanted to-
nervousness or whatever and tried his best to strike up a fun conversation with her.
She's trying to kill
About
him.
An hour later, he saw the same headlights coming towards them again, this time at a much faster pace than before. Feeling that he and his date were now in serious danger, he hopped in his truck and moved to a more defensive position. After the van screeched to a stop inches away from Taylor's car, even closer than before, Brianna jumped out of the truck and ran towards the van. Taylor at first was sort of confused, thinking why she would run to this van that seems to be a threat to them. However, that's when Taylor realized he had been set up. Thinking quickly, he got out of his truck and commanded them to get on the ground. Obviously though, neither Brianna or who he now realized was Bob complied. To Taylor's horror, Bob then charged at him and knocked him on the ground. Using all of his strength, Taylor managed to get up on his back and get up before Bob could grab him again. Everything was happening too quickly for him to process, but he knew he had to do something quickly or something really messed up would happen to him. That's when he saw Brianna, who a second ago he trusted, grabbed a metal pipe from Bob's van. She sort of shouted at him that they had a gun, but that if he gave them all his money and his truck, he would walk away unharmed. Now, again, Taylor had this sort of I'm invincible kind of mindset, and so he refused, to which Brianna started to cry, saying that she didn't want to hurt him if she didn't have to. When he saw Bob run back to the van, he finally revealed to them he was a cop, and he drew his concealed gun and commanded them to get on the ground. After a moment of shock, they finally complied, and Taylor scrambled to call 911. Just as he was telling dispatch that he had 2 suspects at gunpoint and needed backup immediately, Bob and Brianna got up and quickly started sprinting away into the darkness.
Shoot their knees!
Even though he knew it was a dumb choice,
Shoot their
Taylor
knees!
initially started chasing them and ran into the woods around the field.
Oh my god, shoot their
The chase
knees!
lasted maybe 30 seconds when Taylor heard 3 loud pops and saw a muzzle flash in the distance. Now feeling true panic for the first time that night, he sprinted back to his car and put the pedal to the metal.
Just wait for the police, you know what they look like, right?
Minutes later, he went back to the house where he had picked up Brianna, called dispatch again, and asked the cops to come to that location. As soon as his sergeant and field training officer got there, obviously knowing who he was, they sort of gave him crap about having to call the cops. When he really was the cops, he was just off duty. However, at the same time, they did recognize the seriousness of the situation and got in a patrol car and all drove down towards the field. To everyone's surprise, the van was still there. To Taylor's disappointment, his sergeant ordered him to stay in the car, keep his mouth shut, and only come out if they were getting shot at. Although the sergeant and training officer didn't find any sign of Bob or Brianna, they did find drugs in the center console of the car. But that wasn't all they found. When they came back to the patrol car, they weren't doing any more joking around, and the both of them looked pale and horrified at what they had just seen. They told Taylor to follow them back to the van.
You can
and
shoot
after
the
peering
knees.
inside, he saw several knives, duct tape, lighter fluid,
I mean, I
a
feel
decent
like-
amount of rifle ammo, handcuffs, and
Considering
what looked to be dried blood.
they were about to like
On
hurt
the front
him.
passenger
I guess
side,
he's the
they found
police
an
officer and stuff, but
AR-15
like
style
still.
rifle and 2 more handcuffs. The atmosphere obviously immediately changed.
Can you like
as the
slightly
three of them
shoot their
looked at each other
knees so they
wide-eyed.
can't run anymore?
The team called for backup, and a few minutes later, detectives arrived at the scene, which is where it was revealed that the plates were stolen and that the van had been reported stolen a few weeks prior to the incident. Taylor does still get picked on by his supervising officers about the incident to this day, but he's just happy no one got hurt. Since that night, he never went back to online dating again. In 2019, Sabrina matched with a guy on Tinder named Nick, who she thought was really cute. Because she'd had plenty of good experiences using dating apps in the past, her guard was a little down, and she rarely let her friends know what she was doing, who she was with, or where she was.
Cat, stop!
For the first couple of dates with this guy, they went to get coffee
It's
or
loud.
on walks outside. After about 2 weeks of dating, Sabrina decided she really liked Nick. He was friendly, good looking, he was funny, he had his life together, and they also had great chemistry together. For their third date, Nick suggested that Sabrina should come over to his place to have some wine.
Okay, at least this is a
Feeling
third date,
safe
you
and
know?
comfortable enough to be alone with this guy at this
So
point,
dangerous,
Sabrina
but
agreed.
like, at
When
least
the night
this
of their
makes
date
sense.
finally came, she went over to Nick's house, excited to get to know him even better. The two joked around for a bit and started talking like on their previous dates. After a while, Nick poured her a glass of wine. At this point, Sabrina thought things were going really well, and she felt comfortable in his company. However, after a while, at about 8 p.m., Sabrina started feeling a little funny. She felt
no.
almost sleepy and a little weak. She had trouble stringing a sentence together. Now, in the past, Sabrina had been roofied once before at a college party, and so she immediately recognized the effects as soon as they kicked in. But at the exact same time, now realizing the danger of the situation she was in, she pretended she was feeling fine. From her past experience, she knew she only had a few minutes before she passed out and was left vulnerable and at the mercy of this man that she thought she could trust. She knew she had to do something,
Call
and
the
so
police,
at
tell
around
that Grace.
8:15, Sabrina told Nick as quickly and energetically as possible that she needed to use the bathroom, trying her best to make it seem as if nothing was off. Fortunately, Nick didn't seem to notice anything strange about her behavior, and once she was inside the bathroom, she locked the door immediately and called the police.
Can you try to throw up?
Sabrina sat there, her surroundings
When that
starting
happens?
to blur. She
Will that
told them
help
that
a
she had
little?
been drugged and that they needed to come get her out before something terrible happened. Less than a minute after giving the cops Nick's address and hanging up the phone, she was completely out. But because she was still under the effects of the drug, she felt herself slide in and out of consciousness during this time. All she remembers is the police putting a bag over her head as they carried her out of the bathroom and into the patrol car. Following this entire incident, Sabrina was understandably traumatized, but at that point she wasn't even aware of how badly things could have ended for her had she not reacted as quickly as she did. A few days later, she received a call from the police asking her to come down to the station to give her statement. Once there, she mentioned to the cops that the only thing she remembered
No.
clearly was that they had put a bag over her head, but that she could have imagined it due to the effects of the drug. As soon as she said this, the cops looked at each other uncomfortably and confessed that they had indeed put a bag over her head. Sabrina looked
So
at
she
them
couldn't
kinda
see stuff?
confused. They quickly explained that it was actually to protect her. When they walked into the apartment, they saw that Nick had set up something extremely disturbing for her in the living room, and
Oh.
that seeing it would have been too traumatizing for Sabrina.
Oh.
She immediately felt a shiver go down her spine.
Oh.
Because Nick was thrown in jail following the incident, she never found out what exactly he had prepared for her. However, she kinda sees this as a good thing. After this whole nightmare, Sabrina deleted Tinder and vowed never to go back to online dating again.
Well, how bad can it be? Like, was it a torture device? I'm just now. I would be curious my entire life. I would have been like, oh my god, I needed to know. I needed to know. I guess it's good not to know, but like, I would never be able to sleep just because I would be thinking about what it was. I guess. But then, if I saw like a bunch of instruments, I would be like, oh. I would never connect the dots. I would be like, eh. I guess I would after they told me, but like, at that point, Okay, let's watch one more, I guess. Should I watch the ghost ones? Is it like the ones we never saw? Let's watch this one.
Growing up, I saw a lot of very popular ghost videos on YouTube, some of them with tens of millions of views that I used to think were real. Looking back at these videos now, I can see them in a much different light, so I thought it would be fun to look back at some of the most popular ones that you've likely seen before if you've been on this side of YouTube for even a short amount of time. Girls See Ghost and Run. In 2012, a video titled Girls See Ghost and Run was uploaded to YouTube by user Angel Ruiz. In the video, two girls sit at their dinner table while a woman who we can reasonably assume is their mother starts recording them as they eat.
Yeah. What? Don't scare me.
What?
I'm scared. It's okay.
I just turned off the lights, that's all.
A few seconds into the video, one of the girls peers into the dark hallway behind them and becomes visibly disturbed by something she sees. Seconds later, the other girl turns her head, and when she doesn't see anything, she makes fun of her sister for getting scared and even tries to scare her to rub it in.
What the fuck?
What was that?
About a minute into the video, the first girl decides that she's had enough and starts crying, running into her mother's arms to hide from whatever she saw in the hallway. At first, the other girl remains calmly at the table, but when she turns her head to look into the hallway again, she gets even more spooked than her sister.
Nani, are you almost done eating? Look at me.
If I acted like that other girl, my mom would have like killed me. I would be dead on the floor there. If my sister were crying while I was laughing.
Even though
Wait,
seconds
who's laughing?
earlier she was laughing at her sister for apparently being scared of nothing, the other girl also starts screaming after presumably seeing the same thing as her sister did. Toward the end of the video, the girl's mother can be heard laughing as her kids cry in her arms.
What the fuck is wrong with this
people?
people?
Confusing considering the circumstances. Since the video was uploaded in 2012, it's received more than 1.5 million views, mostly popularized by the paranormal YouTube channel Nuke's Top 5 in 2018,
actually
where the
see
video was featured in the channel's most popular
anything
video.
there?
As the disturbing footage started gaining more attention, a lot of people started coming up with theories to explain what the girls saw, with many people alleging that the girls had seen a ghost. Around that time, the video also started being used in a bunch of top 5 scary compilations everywhere online, which added more fuel to the fire. But despite the heap of paranormal theories that got thrown around for years, there are some very clear indications that this video is fake. I'm not saying the girls didn't see anything in the hallway behind the
I feel
kitchen,
like the fact that the
because
mother
they obviously did, but
is
it's more than obvious that
recording
whatever
it.
they did see wasn't paranormal at all. For starters, it's already pretty suspicious that the girl's mom started recording right before the
Yeah.
incident, which suggests she knew exactly what was about to happen and wanted to make sure she caught it on camera.
I don't
Strangely,
think
the
I
mother
watched
also
this.
appears
I
to
don't
be
remember.
laughing throughout the whole thing, even though her children seem extremely distressed. I honestly think that's
Also,
pretty
she
messed up
doesn't
regardless
film
of her motive,
high
but
up
the only thing
enough
that could
to,
explain
like,
a
show
reaction
the
like that is if
whole
she was in on the whole
thing.
thing. Also, when the mom asks the first girl what she's afraid of, the girl responds, Angel.
What, Nani? Look at me. What are you scared of? The fish? Oh, the fish died.
What?
Angel's sleeping already.
From the video alone, it's hard to tell who exactly Angel is, but we can guess that it's probably either the girl's older sister or their dad. Because the video was uploaded on the night of Halloween in 2012, it's likely that this was just a Halloween prank where this angel person dressed up in a ghost costume and scared the girls in the dark hallway. This seems even more likely when you look at the description of the video, which reads, "Girl makes fun of friend for getting scared and crying until she sees it herself. Funny." Why else would they include the word funny? On top of that, if you look at the
I don't
YouTube
know,
text
prank
that the
is
video was
funny, I
uploaded
guess.
with, they read Halloween ghost pranks, girls scary.
Aw,
Halloween
it's a
and
fake
pranks
video.
especially being some clear indicators of what this video is really about.
I mean, at least they're not
Overall,
trying to
everything
make
seems
it
indicate that
real,
this was
they're
just a
actually saying
Halloween
it's
prank
fake.
played on a couple of unsuspecting girls, and from their reaction, it looks like the parents got exactly what they wanted. Ghost caught on camera. On October 2nd, 2017, a video titled Ghost Caught on Camera
I
was
know this
uploaded to
video.
the channel Deer Park CBS. Since then, it's racked up over 20 million views, which is insane. The video in question shows supposed security camera footage of the inside of a Christian school in Ireland at about 3 a.m. A few seconds into the video, doors and lockers randomly start opening and rocking, and wet floor signs start flying everywhere. At first glance, this video seems pretty convincing, and it's understandable why it got over 20 million views. But after looking at the video a couple of times, there are a bunch of red flags that come up that give it away as a clear fake. I mean, how convenient is it that the lockers that move by the supposed ghost are located right in front of an open window that someone could easily stick their hands
That's
through and
true.
just rock with their hands? As for the rest of the events that the camera recorded, pretty much every single one of them is easy to pull off with a piece of black string. In fact, if you zoom into the wet floor sign when it goes flying, you can see what appears to be a black thread tied to the upper right-hand corner. What's even more of a giveaway is the fact that the camera that recorded the whole thing was placed at the same height as the picture frames on the adjacent wall. I
That's
have
true as
honestly
well.
never seen security camera footage from that low of a vantage point, and if you look down the hallway, you'll see one of the school's real security cameras placed a few feet higher at a normal height. This suggests this camera was probably mounted on a tripod or a ladder of some sort to stage the video. The comments in the video were also turned off, which says to me the uploader didn't want anyone calling out their hoax so they could milk the public's attention as long as possible. After doing a bit of research on the channel, I also noticed that this wasn't the first time Deer Park Christian Brothers School tried to go viral on YouTube. In 2016, a video was uploaded to the channel where the students at the school performed the Mannequin Challenge, which was big at that time. Not only is this video a clear indication that the school had been trying to get itself on the map for a while, but it was also helpful in seeing the layout of the school. If you pause the Mannequin Challenge video at about 1 minute and 45 seconds in, you'll see that this is a pretty similar layout to the floor that was captured in the alleged ghost video. And the window shown is very similar to the one in the video that the locker was sitting in front of.
Yeah, this seems
This
cool.
is pretty much definitive proof that the lockers
Wait,
were placed
is the
right in front
school
of an
trying to
open
get
window, which
viral?
would make it extremely easy for someone
Why
to
does
walk
the
it back
school
and
need
forth from the
it?
outside without being seen by the camera. Overall, it's pretty safe to say
Also,
that
isn't it the
despite the
Christian
massive amount
school?
of attention and media coverage
What?
this video got, it is very clearly a hoax. Ghost screaming in haunted hotel. In September 2012, a video was uploaded to YouTube titled Ghost Screaming in Haunted Hotel Full Length. In the video description, the uploader claims that the footage was submitted by the hotel security manager who was allegedly standing watch at a Wingate Hotel in Illinois on September 14, 2003. To give viewers more context, the uploader also mentions that, according to the security manager, several guests had called the front desk that night complaining that there were loud screaming noises coming from room 209. According to the uploader, several people over the years have also complained about strange noises coming from that same room, but there's not much information online to support this claim. As for the video itself, the hotel security camera footage shows John, a supposed employee at Wingate Hotel, responding to the noise complaints as he communicates with the security manager, who gives him updates on the situation via radio and guides him to room 209.
John's gonna enter the room real quick just to check.
I know.
Even though the security manager
PNG
explicitly
image
tells
just
John
left.
to wait for the cops, he goes into the room to investigate with his flashlight anyway. A few seconds later, some sort of white mist appears to exit the room. After John leaves the room, he reports to the security manager that the room had pretty much been torn apart, even though there's nobody inside. After the video was uploaded, thousands of people jumped in the comments section to claim that the footage showed a real ghost encounter. But despite the 13 million views, the video has a few red flags. To start off, at around 13 seconds in the video, the camera inside the elevator shakes way more than a normal elevator security camera should, suggesting that it was probably mounted on a tripod. Throughout the whole video, the color of the footage is not at all common for a regular hotel security camera, meaning that the footage was probably edited after the fact to make it look more creepy. What's more, this kind of high-definition security footage is hard to find nowadays in 2024, and it would have been pretty much impossible to acquire in 2003, especially from a 3-star hotel like the
that's true.
Wingate. Also,
They're always,
there's no
like,
way
really
that
bad
massive
quality.
indoor swimming pool with the high ceiling that's shown in the footage at around the 12-second mark actually belongs to the Wingate Hotel that's supposedly being shown in the footage. If you look at pictures of every Wingate hotel in Illinois, none of the pools look like that, as they're all quite a bit smaller than the one shown in the footage. Now, as for John, the alleged hotel employee, it honestly seems a bit suspicious that he would enter a room where he knows there's something messed up going down and not even bother to turn on the lights. As for the white mist that exits the room after he enters, it literally could not look more fabricated, and honestly the video would have probably looked more authentic if they had just left that part out.
Yeah, maybe.
All this should probably be enough to put this
I feel
to
like
rest
white mist
as an
living in the
obviously
room is
fake
the
video. But
worst
as if all
of
that weren't
any
enough,
ghost
if you look at the
video.
video description, it says, for licensing rights, please contact us at www.blackwellghost.com. And I was able to find that The Blackwell Ghost is a film series produced by a filmmaker named Turner Clay. At the end of the film, special thanks are given in the credits to Jimmy Nut 22, which is the name of the YouTube channel that uploaded the video. He's thanked for the use of the hotel video, as the story about Room 209 serves as the inspiration for the Blackwell Ghost film series. And if you look at Turner Clay's IMDb profile, you'll find that there's an alternative name for him that's listed in his personal details, and as you might have guessed, it's Jimmy Nut 22. On dozens of vlogs all around the internet, it's pretty much been confirmed that the voice of the hotel security manager in the video is actually the voice of Turner Clay. In the YouTube video, you'll also find that the Blackwell Ghost film series is being promoted below the description, which makes it pretty clear that the entire video is probably just made and promoted as real to bring more attention to the Blackwell Ghost series. On
Makes
Jimmy
sense.
Nut 22's YouTube channel, you'll find a bunch of videos and trailers promoting the Blackwell Ghost, also confirming the theory that this was a marketing
good
stunt that a lot of
series?
people just ended
I
up
never
taking
heard of it.
seriously. With over 13
Is it like a documentary or is it like a
views as of
movie
today,
kind of
it's
thing?
safe to say that the promotion was by all accounts successful. Manchester poltergeist caught on CCTV. In November 2012, the channel
Oh, there's
Southport
kids
TV
outside.
uploaded a video titled
I
News
feel like I live in
Manchester
a horror movie.
Poltergeist
I
Caught on
just hear kids
CCTV.
laughing sometimes.
In it, security camera footage shows an office building being trashed at around 3 a.m., even though there doesn't seem to be anyone inside the building.
Oh my gosh, shut up. Did the monitor just turn on? I've seen this video. No, this is definitely fake, right? Oh, it's a horror film. I never listen. I hear like every 7th word probably from each sentence. I just ignore everything else for some reason. What is this? Like, I want a wall, I want a wheel, I want a person? Pension. I want a something else.
In the video description, the uploaders allege that this is the actual unedited footage that the security guards at the Castle Field House on Liverpool Road in Manchester came across the next day. But if this was really caught on CCTV at 3 AM in a deserted office building, why are all the
One
lights
does
on?
get.
And why does the footage have this strange, unnatural green tint that makes it more than obvious that it was edited? There is literally no CCTV footage in the world that looks like that with no editing. Throughout the whole video, one of the things that gets the most attention is the door handles that are being moved up and down. But whoever made this video clearly didn't think about how obvious it is that the door handles are clearly being shaken and moved from the inside, not from some sort of invisible entity on the outside.
I'm more curious
Also,
about this
it's
writings
not
on
too
the
common
wall.
for people who make paranormal hoax videos to use moving chairs as support for their claims, and the main reason for that is that pulling a chair with a black string and making it seem as if it's moving on its own is one of the easiest gags to pull off. If
I
you
feel like
look
whenever the
closely,
chair is
all the
moving, it's
chairs move
fake.
in an almost perfectly straight line, which is a dead giveaway that they're being pulled by some sort of string. The same goes for the slamming doors and the opening and shutting cabinets that make the papers go flying all over the place. Finally, one of the most obvious signs that this was fabricated was the static that repeatedly appears on the computer monitors. The uploaders don't seem to account for the fact that computers don't even produce static. Overall, despite the millions of views it got, there are just too many different indications that this video is fake.
I didn't even think about it, but he's right. What? Okay, let's watch one more. One not too long one. Should we do fortune thread? It's kind of short. Mystery solved by Google, with Google Maps. One more. Okay, let's do one more. What do you want? Caught on camera on the forest encounters. I feel like forest encounters and abandoned building encounters probably like crazy people, like homeless people, right? It's not as fun. I want something mysterious. Creepypasta based on true story. Wait. Where is it? This one? Yeah, let's switch this one.
Abandoned by Disney. Abandoned by Disney is a whole series of creepypastas surrounding Disney's alleged unexplained abandonment of certain resorts in the Bahamas and in the US. The Abandoned by Disney creepypasta was originally written by Slimebeast, a well-known internet horror writer who's created several viral creepypastas, including Funny Mouth, I Hate You, and Lost Episodes. The Abandoned by Disney story basically goes that at some undefined point in the 2000s, Disney allegedly spent $30 million on a resort in the Bahamas called Treasure Island.
Wait, I heard that
According to the
creepypasta.
story, they supposedly later abandoned without a convincing reason. Based on the creepypasta, there was another resort that Disney abandoned under mysterious circumstances. This one was located near the beachside city of Emerald Isle in North Carolina, and it was supposed to be a jungle-themed resort by the name of Mowgli's Palace. According to Slimebeast, the project was extremely controversial from the start, as Disney allegedly did some pretty sketchy stuff to acquire the land they required for the palace. Still, the creepypasta mentions that construction for Mowgli's Palace did end up getting completed and even started to receive tourists for a while before being unexplainably
Wait, it
abandoned in
existed?
some pretty murky circumstances. The author of the story then alleges that he ended up visiting the abandoned resort to take some pictures and see what he could find, and that's where the creepypasta gets pretty disturbing. Based on the story, the resort had pretty much been stripped bare and left to rot over the years. Most of the things that were big enough to take back from the resort had been stolen, leaving only desks, refrigerators, abandoned statues, other miscellaneous objects, and the buildings themselves to show for the once functional Mowgli's Palace. Allegedly, Disney had also released their exotic animals onto the grounds upon abandoning the resort, including the sharks they once kept in their aquarium and their 80-foot-long pythons, one of which
Whoa.
supposedly slithered right in front of the creepypasta author, who initially assumed it was a statue. Disturbingly, the creepypasta mentions that dozens of walls, staircases, and objects lying around the resort had been spray painted with the words "Abandoned by Disney," possibly by disgruntled employees who were fed up with Disney's sketchy doings. At one point in the story, the author allegedly went down the stairs into a room that was labeled "Mascots Only" and came across a photo-negative version of a Mickey Mouse costume that somehow came to life and pulled its own head off in front of the author to scare him. Now, obviously, pretty much every single detail about this story from start to finish is completely fake. The same goes for every other story that's a part of this Abandoned by Disney creepypasta series. But it actually was based on some real events. There was once a real resort on a real island that Disney mysteriously abandoned back in the late 90s. Between 1974 and 1999, Discovery Island in Bay Lake, Florida was a popular Disney attraction open to the public who were drawn there by the dozens of wild animal species roaming around the tropical landscape. Disturbingly, the resort ended up getting charged with animal cruelty after the company admitted that a few vultures had died after being captured by their employees. For unrelated, unspecified, and mysterious reasons, Disney Island was closed in 1999, and the name Discovery Island was passed on to one of the lands in Disney's Animal Kingdom. Since its closing, the island was pretty much left abandoned to rot under the elements, and over the years its structures have sustained major hurricane damage. Interestingly, as of 2024, all buildings and attractions of the original resort remain on the island, which gives it a pretty creepy and nostalgic vibe. Nowadays, the area is fully off limits to the public, but that hasn't stopped a few urban explorers from venturing out into the island and finding some pretty disturbing stuff. In 2004, urban explorer Shane Perez visited the island 5 years after its abandonment, swimming through 300 feet of freezing cold alligator-infested Florida lake water to reach Discovery Island and spend the night exploring the remains of the mysterious resort. Interestingly, during their visit, Shane and his friends discovered that several lights throughout the island were still somehow working. And a little more disturbingly, they found all kinds of odd things in the abandoned sheds, including snakes stuffed in Coke bottles and a bunch of animals that were left behind by Disney when the island closed, which is pretty similar to what was mentioned in the fictional creepypasta.
Wait, were they
Although
actually
Shane and his
alive
friends were only
animals?
able to explore half of the island before the sun rose again, they uploaded all of their findings onto a now infamous blog post that ended up being featured on the news. Obviously, this didn't make Disney look too good, and as a result of trespassing, Shane was banned from all Disney resorts for the rest of his life. But he triggered a wave of intrigue around the island that has endured until this day. Over the years, a few more urban explorers have attempted to explore the island, leading to some pretty interesting videos, blog posts, and pictures. Nowadays, the island is under extremely heavy 24/7 surveillance, which would make it almost impossible to explore for a regular civilian. Still, the abandoned island turned creepypasta was one of the dozens of things that have irreparably damaged the public's perception of Disney, as it's pretty clear that behind the cute mouse costumes and the fairy tale facade, there's a bunch of stuff the higher-ups of the company definitely don't want the public to see. The Smiling Man. In April 2012, a Reddit user named Blue Title posted a story titled The Smiling Man. The story basically goes that at some point in 2012, Blue Title went for a solo walk in the middle of the night in Seattle, Washington after his roommate had fallen asleep. At some point in the evening between the hours of 1 a.m. and 2 a.m., he saw a strange-looking man dancing at the other end of the street. In the user's own words, it was a strange dance, similar to a waltz, but he finished each box with an odd forward stride. I guess you could say he was dance-walking, headed straight for me. At first, Blue Title tried to walk past him, giving the man as much space as possible to avoid coming into contact with him, but the guy just kept dancing closer and
I think
closer.
I know this creepypasta as well.
What's most disturbing about the account is the way the user describes the man's appearance. Based on the original post, the man was tall and lanky, wore an old suit, and had an extremely eerie expression on his face. His eyes were wide open and his head was tilted back to look at the sky. Even more unsettling, his mouth was twisted into a forced-looking smile that seemed permanently fixed on his face. To make a long story short, the smiling man ended up chasing Blue Title for several blocks until the user eventually outran him and made it back to his apartment safely. There's a lot more detail to the chase, but I'm leaving out some of it for simplicity. Based on what was mentioned in the post, the user continued to live in that city for another 6 months and never went out on another solo late-night walk again. Now, this is usually the kind of story that you would read and immediately dismiss as fake, but the Smiling Man is one of those posts that there's no good reason to believe it's not true. After the story was posted, the Smiling Man turned into something of an urban legend and became a classic creepypasta, often being featured in horror forms and even being turned into multiple different viral short films over the years. Still, the original story was not designed to be a creepypasta as it came to be over time. The author has continued to insist it's real. For context, the Let's Not Meet subreddit, which is where the story was originally posted, was created for people to share their true accounts of scary in-person encounters they experienced firsthand. As per the guidelines of the subreddit, no fictional or paranormal stories are allowed, and any
How do you know
indication
if
that a
that's
story was made
fictional or
up
not?
usually results in the post being immediately removed. All this to say that the Let's Not Meet admins make a big effort to keep the subreddit clean from any kind of stories that are obviously fake. That's not to say that some fabricated stories don't slip through the cracks from time to time, but I don't think the Smiling Man is one of them. Looking into Blue Title's activity on other subreddits, I found that they seem pretty honest and genuine, often discussing martial arts, music, and other topics unrelated to creepypastas and internet horror lore. The fact that the Smiling Man is pretty much the only story the user has told since opening his account in 2012 is a pretty good indication that it's true. On top of that, dozens of users over the years have claimed to have seen the Smiling Man themselves, and a lot of the times it's the original author himself who shows up in the threads to fact check them and call them out when they're embellishing the story or fabricating details that are obviously fake. And sure, this is by no means 100% definitive proof that the Smiling Man was real, but I'm honestly inclined to believe that this actually happened. As for what the Smiling Man's intentions were on that night in 2012, it's really anyone's guess. I'd probably guess the guy was either under the influence of drugs, mentally insane, or really going out of his way to mess with Blue Title for no reason. With so many years having gone by since this incident took place, we'll likely never know. The only thing we can be sure of is that it's probably a good thing the OP ran away when he did. You never know what someone who's clearly not in their right mind is capable of, especially when there are no witnesses around. The year was 1990.
You know, that's a good thing to do
In
when you're
April
like
of
alone,
2015,
going
a Reddit
home
user
at
with the
night.
mysterious
Just
name
pretend
I'm
you're
Sorry
crazy.
Michael posted a harrowing story in the No Sleep subreddit
So everyone
where he
will be
shared his
scared of
firsthand
you
experience
instead.
of what it was like witnessing a 4-year-old get kidnapped from a school playground in the early 90s. Now, it's important to keep in mind
Maybe
that
he
the
was
No
just
Sleep
scared
subreddit
of
doesn't
going
always
home
feature
in
true
the dark
stories.
street, and he was
In
like,
fact,
"Oh my
it
god, the
almost
guy in
never
front of me
does.
might kill
It's
me."
pretty much entirely creepypastas.
So he
But you'll
decided
see
to
why
be
that's not so
scary
relevant
first.
in a second. The post was titled "The Year Was 1991," and in it, the OP basically tells the story of how he arrived at a school's sports field to toss around a ball with some family friends on a warm spring day. As soon as he arrived at the field, the OP allegedly saw a little boy in a blue jacket running on the playground close to the playing field. Suddenly, a suspicious-looking dark van pulled up to the playground and parked right over the hopscotch outline. A few seconds later, a man in a sketchy-looking, low-quality bear costume got out of the vehicle, promised the little boy some candy, and put him in the back of the van before driving away. Based on the post, the uploader
Exactly,
immediately got into his
headphones
vehicle
look
and tried to
welcome.
catch up with the
How you
van,
doing?
but because he was so unfamiliar with the area, he ended up getting lost. As soon as he called 911, the operator allegedly scolded him for prank calling and hung up on him. It wasn't until the next day that the OP supposedly saw in the news that a 4-year-old boy named Michael Dunahee had disappeared from a school
Haven't
playground
heard
the day
that
before. Interestingly,
name
through my
in
research,
so
I was
long.
able to
I
find that
remember
Michael
it. I
Dunahee was a
forgot that
real kid that
existed.
had disappeared, and it really did take place on a school playground in 1991, which makes this Reddit post incredibly creepy. The real story goes that on March 24th, 1991, Crystal Dunahee, Michael's mother, was going to participate in a women's flag football practice at Blandshart Elementary School in Victoria, British Columbia. As soon as she arrived with her son at the school at around 12:30 p.m., Michael asked if he could go to the playground by himself.
That's like
Immediately,
crazy.
Crystal felt
Like
that something
that's the
wasn't
first
right,
thing
but she let her
parents
son walk
teach
to
the
the playground
kid,
by
right? Don't
himself
take
under the
candies
condition
from
that he had
weird
to stay there
bears.
until his dad arrived at the school. Unfortunately, by the time his dad arrived, Michael was gone.
Aw.
A search was immediately launched, and Michael was officially declared a missing person. That day, the little boy had been wearing a blue hooded jacket, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles t-shirt, rugby pants, and blue sneakers. But despite the massive search effort, which quickly became one of the largest police investigations in Canadian history, Michael was never seen again. Over the years, the cops have received over 11,000 tips on the disappearance, but none of them have led to anything significant. Strangely, even though there were dozens of people at the school field that day, there were no
The guy
witnesses
who
to
saw
Michael's
the van,
disappearance.
did he see
And
the
the only thing
numbers
that
of
they
the
could get out of a
van?
nearby
Or like
passerby
anything
was that a
can
man in his late
identify the
40s
van?
or early
I
50s
feel like if you
with a
saw
brown
it,
van
saw
was
that
seen
it
near
was
the
like
playground around the time of
weird.
the disappearance.
That would
Overall,
what I
a lot
would
of the
look
details
at
from their
first.
official
Maybe that
investigation
didn't
match
have
up
numbers.
perfectly with the Reddit post, but the majority of them were never confirmed by the cops. It's likely that the OP completely made the story up. But that doesn't change the fact that this is at least based on a real event that happened. Sadly, because the disappearance took place over 35 years ago, it's unlikely that Michael will ever be found at this point. The Alice Killings. The Alice Killings is a Japanese urban legend according to which from 1999 to 2005, a series of brutal, unexplainable murders took place in multiple different towns in Japan. Based on the legend, each victim's life was taken in a very different fashion, and the only thing that tied the murders together was the fact that a playing card was found near or on the victims' bodies when they were found by cops or passers-by. Disturbingly, the legend mentions that on the playing cards, the killer would write the name Alice in the victim's blood. For example, one of the victims was allegedly buried in a shallow grave with a Queen of Clubs marking its entrance. Another card with the King of Diamonds was found crammed into the hand of another victim at a bar. Over time, people started putting their own twists on the urban legend, turning it into a creepypasta and adding all kinds of details to the original story, as usually happens online. But even though the specific details in the story of the Alice Killings are all fake, they're all based on a completely true story that's just as terrifying as the creepypasta. In 2003, an ex-military guy turned security officer in Madrid, Spain, named Alfredo Galán Sotillo shot a 50-year-old man named Juan Francisco Ledesma in the head in front of his 2-year-old son. From there, Alfredo went on to kill another 5 victims over the next month, all of them picked completely randomly and for no good reason. After taking his second victim's life, he left a tarot card with an ace of clubs near the crime scene, after which, as you can probably guess, the media started sensationalizing the case,
That was 3
giving
of
Alfredo
cups.
much more attention than he deserved.
Was that the real thing?
And thanks to that, he went on to kill another 4 victims and severely injure another 3, often leaving tarot cards at the scene to fit the picture the media had made of him. In addition to the cards, the killer did have a particular MO in the way he took his victims' lives. All of them were shot at point-blank range, and all of them were picked at random, unlike most serial killers who often stalk and get to know their victims before taking their lives. On July 3, 2003, the playing card killer, as he quickly became known, turned himself into the police in a severely intoxicated state, immediately confessing to the string of murders that had taken Madrid by storm that year. As soon as he sobered up, he tried to take back his confession, but at that point it was too late, as he had already revealed to the cops certain details about the pen markings on the cards that weren't even made public. Disturbingly, during the investigation, it was revealed that before carrying out his gruesome crimes, the killer would wish his victims good morning and ordered them to kneel down before executing them. That same year, Galán was sentenced to 142 years in prison, a punishment he's serving to this day. In 2023, Netflix made a documentary about him titled The Playing Card Killer. And at the end of the day, that's probably what these killers really want deep down, attention. But fortunately, he won't be getting out anytime soon. And let's just hope the crazy amount of attention the media gives these killers doesn't motivate more lunatics to seek notoriety through these kinds of crimes. The Doppelganger. The Doppelganger
Phantom
is a pretty
Social Workers.
well-known
Is that a name
creepypasta that tells the fictional
case?
story of a kid named Trey who lived with his parents in a small rural county in eastern Tennessee. Based on the original Reddit post titled The Doppelganger, Trey's father Henry was a county warden who usually came home from work late in the evenings. One night, Henry came home and hesitantly let his wife and son know that one of his co-workers had been missing for 2 days. That same night, Trey's mom and dad made him promise that he wouldn't open the door for anyone, even for his own parents. The next day, Henry announced to his family that his co-worker Mike's body had been found by a creek. Disturbingly, he also mentioned that even though Mike had only been reported missing for 2 days, his body was declared to be at least 2 weeks old when the authorities found him. This of course meant that somebody had been posing as Mike for several days, spending time with his family and going through his days pretending to be him.
How can
That
you
night when
not
Trey went up to his
recognize your
room,
own
he heard a knock
son?
on his window. It was his dad's voice asking to let him in, and claiming that he had just gone outside to check on something and had accidentally locked himself out. Eerily, that's when Trey's dad appeared in his doorframe, holding a finger up to his lips, signaling for his son to be quiet. After scaring away whoever was at the window, the family went down to sit together at the kitchen table, fearing for their lives. Later that evening, the impersonator once again tried to enter the house, pretending to be Trey's dad. This time, Henry called his officer friends over who agreed to help him track down whoever or whatever it was that was pretending to be him. While his dad was out, Trey went up to his room to hide under the
Hello,
blankets.
can you please
and
use
when his dad
English
came
in
back,
chat?
he scolded him and his mother
It's
for
an
having
English
left the
chat.
front door unlocked. Still, the family went to sleep, and the next morning Trey woke up to an overpowering smell coming from his parents' bedroom. He immediately realized his parents weren't home. Upon opening his parents' closet door, the body of a woman who looked just like his mother tumbled out and onto the floor. As soon as his parents got home, they made up a story to explain what had happened, softening some of the details so their
There's
son wouldn't
no
end
way
up
like
even more
an actual
traumatized.
doppelganger exists,
The
right?
creepypasta ends with Trey
Oh wait,
noticing that his
it's
dad's
a
hair is a
creepypasta again.
different
Okay,
shade of
I'm
black
I'm
than it
getting
usually
confused.
was, leaving the story on a cliffhanger.
I'm getting
Obviously,
confused with
pretty
like
much
what's real
everything
and
in
what's
the
not now.
creepypasta is entirely made up. But the story itself was based on an illness called Capgras syndrome, which is a real psychiatric condition in which people end up convinced that their family members and other people close to them have been replaced by imposters or doppelgangers. Through my research, I found that people with Capgras syndrome often end up becoming aggressive and even violent with the loved ones they accuse of being imposters.
Well, I mean,
And
yeah, there is
disturbingly,
people
a
like
pretty
who
clear
very
correlation has been found
look
between
really
Capgras
similar.
syndrome
I think
and
there's at
violent
least 5
homicides within
people that look
families.
very
I also found
resemble
that
you
people with
closely, right?
pre-existing
Or
neurological
something like
disorders
that.
such as Parkinson's disease, epilepsy, and stroke
But like,
are more prone to
not that
developing
much. Like,
Capgras syndrome, as
clearly
well as
your
people who
family
suffer
should be
from
able to tell you
schizophrenia and
apart,
similar
right?
illnesses. One particular case that caught my attention involved a 24-year-old male veteran who turned himself into the police to confess that he had allegedly been violent with his girlfriend. Interestingly, when the cops called his girlfriend to get her side of the story, she mentioned that the allegations were completely false and that her boyfriend had no history of violence. What followed was a pretty confusing series of events where the patient ended up revealing that he was convinced his entire family were imposters.
But not the whole family. Can't the
Disturbingly,
whole
he claimed that
family
his
not
mother had been
recognize
replaced
you?
by a government employee who had been sent to elicit a confession from him about his behavior while he was in the military. Apparently, the guy felt guilty about having taken naps during work hours and punching a wall during boot camp and was scared that his mother would find out about it. Even though the man claimed he had also been violent with his mother, she denied the allegations and assured the doctors that her son was not a violent person. Fortunately, after treatment the guy was okay, but I can't imagine how terrifying it must be both to wake up convinced that your family isn't really your family and to no longer be recognized by someone you love.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it's inside the creepypasta. I'm just talking about like the... Sorry, I think I think it's because there's like... I'm replying to both chats is a little confusing. I need to figure out how to like implement both chats in the stream. I mean, like the real life doppelgangers, not the ones that's in the story. Well, I guess that will be the last video for today. I need to go. I need to lay down a little bit. That was fun. I actually really like this channel. I'm gonna follow it so you can watch more videos from here. Thank you, Scarlett, for recommending it. It's really fun. Later, Pantslog. So you do, Aaron and Paula, and good night. To the raid. I don't know if anyone is live right now. No, Siri, I didn't ask for you. Why you keep... No? No? Okay. Let's raise Zig, and then I go lay down. Our tummy aches still. Thank you for being here, Sociabot. Thank you. Here's a raid message if you want to stay for the raid. I'm gonna go lay for a little bit, and then I also have to do some stuff. Also, as soon as my Vision stuff is ready, I'm gonna post about it as well. So thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm not streaming tomorrow, so I'll be back the day after tomorrow, Wednesday. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I'll see you. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.